Good evening and welcome to the October 7th meeting of East Point City Council. Madam City Clerk, roll call, please.
Okay, Councilmember Shropshire is en route. Councilmember Freely. Present. Councilmember Ziegler. Present. Councilmember Cummings. Present. Councilmember Mitchell. Present. Councilmember Butler. And Councilmember Martin Rogers. Present. Mayor Holiday Ingram, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Councilmember Shropshire and a lot of other East Point residents are experiencing a power outage right now. Crews are assessing what's happening, but have not made the determination yet. So those updates should be going out through communications while we're in the meeting. Our invocation tonight will be by Pastor Walter C. Mobley Jr., followed by the pledge to the flag. Please stand and remain standing.
Let us pray. We have gathered as citizens of this great city of East Point to hear and to pray for our city council and our mayor as they deliberate the affairs for us. Bless them, bless our city employees, bless all the visitors to this great city. Bless the citizens who make this city thrive. In your blessed name we pray. Amen.
Our Sergeant at Arms this evening is Captain Robinson. Thank you so much for your service this evening. First presentation is GRPA Pickleball Championship Team bringing home the gold, the medals. I'm not sure what color they were, but come on up, Mr. Pinkett.
As you guys can tell, I got my team with me today. Good. All right. All right. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Happy to bring some good news about what Parks and Recreation has accomplished. It's important that I give you all and the residents a little bit of history about us with pickleball. Back in late 2017, we attended a GRPA meeting and we learned about a new sport that was available called pickleball. Initially, I thought the name was kind of strange, but it ended up being a lifeline for us during COVID. Back in 2017, we invested and put pickleball lines into our basketball courts. In 2020, when COVID occurred, one of the first sports that were deemed as low impact was pickleball. During that time, we were hosting tournaments at Sykes Park, upwards to 100 residents, people from neighboring cities playing pickleball tournaments. More recently, in the last year and a half, the city made a strong statement by investing in our public tennis courts. Sykes Park, as Tremaine and Ms. Cummings can attest, it's no parking over there multiple nights out of the week. We built 6 dedicated pickleball courts. We run an awesome program called Night Court right now. It is well attended. We have roughly about 50 to 60 players in that. But enough of me, I want to bring Daryl Brodus up. Okay. So Mr. Daryl started with me back in 2010. He's worked in the space of tennis and more recently pickleball. He's one of our unsung heroes. A lot of times you see me up here, it's myself and DeJuan and maybe one other person, but Daryl is an East Point resident. He's been with the city going on 14 years. Yeah. It's about a month ago. Daryl and I started about 2 months apart, but Daryl has done a tremendous job with training beginners in pickleball, but obviously, as you can see, we've advanced to become state champions multiple times. 2023, we pretty much was a landslide. 2024, the same thing. Right now, we boast the largest pickleball group from a recreation standpoint in Metro Atlanta. But with no further ado, I want to bring up Mr. Darrell Brodus.
Good evening, everyone. I just want to acknowledge y'all that y'all are acknowledging us, and I appreciate you, Mayor, council people, my director, Shalora Pinkett, and the assistant director, Dewan Anderson, for your internal as well as your external customer service that you've given us. And you've created a platform where we play pickleball all the time in our park. So we've got pickleball at every tennis court in East Point. And we have set the standard for pickleball in the metro area. We just pack constantly. This great group here, we took a trip down to Macon on September 14th and 15th for the Georgia Recreation and Parks Association state tournament. And we were able to take 6 gold medals and 2 bronze medals. So I think we kind of ousted most groups that did come down there during that time. But I just want to congratulate these great pickleball players right here. And I do want to thank our director for hanging in there with us with the pickleball, as well as tennis. Tennis is still going on too at Sykes Park, as well as the city, all of our other courts. So I'm gonna call out some of our winners. Brandon White, okay. Ricky Lee, Paula Valentine, Joyce Evans, John Dalton, he's my partner. And we did win bronze while we were down there, so we had a good job, had a good time. Jada Moore, Samantha Hurd, Sabor Taylor, Ayo Ajumo, he's not here, but he has a representative. Yeah. Robert Lewis, Charlene Smith is not here, Roz Mitchell is not here, Marcos Griffin is not here, Brian Jayton is not here, and Shane Harris is not here. But all of them did well. They just tore it up in Macon. They know us in Macon, believe it or not. They know about East Point, so, we've done a great job. And, we started this last year when we went down, and we won quite a bit of gold as well as silver and bronze. So that's all I have to say, and thank y'all for allowing us to come out tonight. East Point Pickleball, y'all, they represent.
Thank y'all so much for bringing it home, so they know there's no point like East Point, even when it comes to pickleball.
Quick picture. I actually got
we'll
you
take a
all
real picture.
some T-shirts as well.
Okay.
I'm going to see if we can do a quick picture and we'll be out of your way.
Absolutely, and I want to say thank you to Mr. Brodus. He taught our daughter Nia how to swing a racket. When I think she was like 4 or 5 years old, she was doing tennis. So he's been at this for a long time. Thank you so much for your dedicated service. And we will come down and take a picture together.
And we got some various sizes in here. I don't want to call them out loud.
All right, we'll stand in front of this. All right, next up is 2025 benefit program carrier renewals from Human Resources. This is Mr. Brown and Ms. Jessie. I see the presenters coming forward.
Yep, we have presenters here, Madam Mayor, members of the council. Just give us a minute.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of council. We are bringing Part 2 back to you. We provided information on our 2025 benefit renewals a couple of meetings ago, and Benalytics is the city's benefits broker. They went back and continued to sharpen their pencils, and especially in the area of Medicare Advantage for our retirees. So we do have an update in that area today. But for the most part, I'm going to turn it over to Charles Atkinson, who is the owner and principal for Benalytics, and he will introduce his partner. Charles? Press the red button.
Oh, okay. Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the council. I'm Charles Atkinson, founder and managing principal of Benalytics Consulting Group. And with me today is my colleague, Norma Robertson, and we will go over the renewals that we received for this upcoming plan year. And during the meeting, we'll go over the renewals, the medical plan options, as well as the various employee contributions that we'll bring before you for a decision. Here we have several of the benefits they're already currently under a rate guarantee. The life and AD&D insurance is under guarantee. The short and long-term disability are currently under guarantees. We're going to bring before you the medical, which currently has a renewal of 14.3%, and we'll discuss that because
Back up, so you can go ahead, and as soon as it comes back up, we'll make sure they catch you up to where you are.
oh, okay, thank you. All right, I don't have the I'm going to have to look at this.
Yeah, look at that, and
On the medical renewal, there was a 14.3% increase, and it's at that level because in the previous RFP, we negotiated a cap for the second year with Aetna. So the 14.3 is the cap, whereas if we looked at just the experience, you would have been much higher, and we'll discuss that in a minute. The Medicare Advantage plan, there's an increase there, and we'll discuss that as well. There were a number, there's an issue with the new legislation in the Inflation Reduction Act with a retiree.
Hold on. I'm sorry, hold on just a moment. Madam City Clerk, do you have a backup recorder? All of it's out. Like a tape recorder or your phone? Okay.
Continue. FSA and COBRA benefits, there are slight increases for those, and the difference in the rates are for the renewal, the rates go from $360 per participant per month to $380. The COBRA goes from 40 cents per employee per month to 45 cents per employee per month. Great. And for the voluntary benefits, and which is AFLAC, there are no changes to the rates. And Norma will take it from here.
okay. Thank you very much for allowing us to readdress the 2025 renewals that we received on behalf of the City of East Point. As Charles mentioned, the medical renewal is 14.3%. It was previously negotiated when we took this program to the market for a competitive bid, and we negotiated a second year not to exceed, and thank goodness we did, because the actual experience for East Point from an underwriting perspective is 30%. Trending high, and we'll share with you why. So looking at 14.3, it's actually, we're seeing some pretty high numbers coming into 2025, and the value of that increase is $833,841 annually as an increase to the budget. When we were before you a couple of weeks ago, we talked about the fact that that increase could be absorbed by the city or shared in a percentage or proportion to the plan members that are participating in the medical program. So why is this happening? If you don't mind, Charles, flip me down one. This is the information I shared with you the last time. You can see that just claims to premiums trending high. There's some very large claims that are also materializing within the program. And this is the first year plan with Aetna, so there's a lot of uncertainty here. But for a point of reference, healthcare trend annually is 11%. So we're at 14.3, and before trend was applied through the underwriting process, we were over a 30% loss ratio. So we feel really good that 14.3 is protecting us. It could have been a lot worse. Okay? Employee contributions. The city of East Point made some changes to how employees paid when they elected to participate in the plan. And that was done really 3 years ago. There was a distinct reduction in employee contributions. And on this slide, there is a benchmark for you to look at and say, okay, how do we compare to what everybody else is doing out there in terms of employee contributions? So, for example, if you are in the richer of the two options that we sponsor, you pay $87 a month. These are monthly, not per paycheck. These are $87.44 for employee. To the right, you can look at 3 different benchmarks that we have extracted. One that's based on the size, the second based being governmental entities, and the third is what's happening in the Southeast, because as much as we want to think healthcare is uniform in this wonderful nation, it is not. So when you look at this, you can see that currently the East Point's contributions, actually they're on the screen, are considerably lower than what the market's doing. For family coverage, same sort of result, not nearly as big as the employee-only coverage category, but still there is room to bring it and align with what other employers are doing here in the South or other governmental, local, and the state. And if you want to see what, for many of your employees who have spouses that work for the state plan, this is probably why we do have quite a few of them on the East Point program. It's a very competitive program. So we're faced with $833,000, and what we have presented before you are really 3 options. The city could do nothing, and the budget for the healthcare program only would need to increase $833,841. The second option, which is right in the middle, says we got a 14.3% increase. We're sharing that equally. The city of East Point increases the budget 14.3, employee contributions go up 14.3, and so we maintain that equilibrium between what the city does, what the employee pays. And to the left, in the middle where it says alternative 1, the increases are what your employees, or if they're covering their dependents, will experience monthly under that scenario. So for single coverage, it's an increase depending on the option, a little less than $10 a month, up to $12.50. That's a month. That's not per pay period. So you're looking, it's about $6 a pay period going up. The family is going up $87.84. Well, really, the lowest one is $67.35. Up to $91.41 as a change. What that does is, if we're starting with an increase to your budget of $833,000, if we share equally, the city of East Point will go up $707,000. The difference there of about $126,000, no, did I do that right? $126,000 is being paid for by the employees. Alternative 2 says, if that is too much for the council to feel comfortable with, then we could do something part way. And that is what alternative 2 is. It increases the employees 7.5%. And with that, the city will absorb $767,000 as an increase to the budget for 2025. This plan is fully insured with Aetna. The only thing that will change these numbers is if enrollment changes, your head count that's shown to the left. But for the most part, these are the recommendations from HR for the council to consider. As Charles mentioned earlier, or I think Iris mentioned, Miss Jessie mentioned, we did get some leverage with Aetna on the Medicare Advantage program. This is, has a subsidy from the city for retirees who qualify. We were able to take it from 20.53% down to 19.7. Not a whole lot, but a little bit of a give. As mentioned earlier, the big driver here is the Inflation Reduction Act that in effect is removing the donut hole for pharmacy for people that are in Medicare Advantage. It's reducing the out-of-pocket expenses due to pharmaceutical spend, and that is in effect the government's way of pushing it over to the employer that is subsidizing, or the members, or the health plan, just not on their nickel. So that's what the driver is of this. Similar to what we did on the active program, we have done scenarios. If the city of East Point wants to absorb the full increase of this 19.7%, based upon those in the plan, that will increase the budget $89,400. Or similar to what the city has done in the past and what is an option for the actives, to share in it equally, 50-50. And that reduces it down to $44,700. And then last is the dental renewal. It's 5%. Dental has seen, since COVID, a lot of things have changed in the dental market. A lot of dentists have retired. We have a lot of staffing issues in the dental community that's driving up the cost of negotiating for dental coverage. We were able to keep it down to 5%, which is actually under dental inflation. Inflation for dental is not as high annually as medical, but it is still around 8%. So what we have here is the similar sort of, if we don't do anything, then the no change, the city would be absorbing $19,960 annually, or we pass it all on to the employee, because the dental is primarily a voluntary program. And if you look at the contributions, they're very, very low. So we could very easily pass it along to the participants because they're very low compared to market. Or like the other scenarios, share it equally. So that is what's on the screen. So we're coming before you. We spent more time on it the last time we met. If there's any questions, we'd be glad to answer them. But we're coming to you with really 3 decisions. The medical contributions, the Medicare Advantage contributions, and the dental plan contributions for 2025.
What are the amounts again? It would be helpful to know what the
For the medical plan,
medical is 800.
833,841.
833,841.
Correct.
Medicare.
Medicare Advantage is 89,400.
And dental was 19,960.
960.
Huh?
19,960.
960. I don't see anyone in right now, so I'll start with, I think, Councilmember Buck.
Thank you very much. How you doing? Glad to see you guys. I was a little confused when we said the 14.3 increase equally. So is it actually the increase is almost 30%? Or because, or is it 14.3? I was confused about the numbers when you said we have to put in 14.3 and then they put in 14.3.
Each bucket goes up 14.3%. So if the total pie increased 14.3, to keep it in equilibrium, your contribution goes up 14.3 and the participant's contribution goes up 14.3. The pie still only went up 14.3.
Oh, I understand, because what you're saying is that would just keep us at doing the same thing we're doing now.
Same split of cost. Same cost share.
And then, so for alternative number 2, where it says a 7.5, could you tell me about that one again?
What we did was we increased the employees' contributions 7.5%, and the difference that is needed would be made up by the city of East Point.
So what I'm understanding is, so instead of 14.3, the employee will only be increased 7.5.
Instead of 14.3, the employee would only go up 7.5. Yes.
So now, is this 833,841 number, is that if we paid the entire increase? Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay. So what are the comparables between alternative 1 and 2 on your slide, so I can follow where you are?
Alternative 1 says we are sharing it in equally. So of the pie going up 14.3, whoops, you want to go back?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, let's go back to slide 6, please. Is this one? No. No. Yes. Okay, so this is the slide I think would show it the easiest for you. And it is that these are really for you to see the impact to the employee. So right now in blue, that's what the employee pays today, monthly. Again, everything's monthly on this slide. When we increase them 14.3%, the 87.44 becomes 99.94.
Okay.
And that's an increase of $12.50 a month.
Okay.
So that went up 14.3. And for the city of East Point, it now reduces the budget increase from 833 down to 707.
I got you.
Okay? So now alternative 2 is doing the exact same thing. It's looking at 87.44, increasing it by 7.5%. That's the increases the participant will see. That's producing, for their contributions, $950,000. So net East Point, you can see it down to the right, $5.7 million for a budget increase of $767,000.
Could you show me for alternative number 2 what the employees' increase would be? I saw alternative, oh, I see it here.
C2.
94 instead of 99, okay.
Correct. Correct.
Matt, I'm going to ask the city manager a question, if I may. Have we anticipated these increases in our recent budget?
Well, we had to. Obviously, we didn't get our rate structure until August, so we weren't able to plan perfectly, but we were able to budget for it in insurance, for group health insurance, and so.
Do we know if we're prepared, how much of this money we may be prepared to pay?
Yes, yes. Well, we don't have a recommendation at this point, but we looked at the 833 on medical, and so that's budgeted for.
Okay.
Budgeted for.
Are you looking for a decision tonight from us?
Yes.
We were hoping for a decision tonight. We have open enrollment planned, and so it really is, what are the contributions that we're going to convey?
I have one more question too. What is the quota? Do we know what the quota increase was? And maybe Ms. Jessie may know that.
Yeah, I think we
The
did look at
quota,
that.
how much
COLA.
the increase? COLA, I'm sorry, COLA. I'm thinking music, not. Okay, that's fine. That's all I need to know, 3%. Thank you. Thank you.
Councilmember Shropshire.
Thank you. And I was going to ask about the budget for this being in the budget. So if we stick with the first plan, which is 8744, and I'm using that first one, and the city do the 833, then the plan won't go up, correct?
For the participant, it would not increase for the
Because
participant.
what I'm looking at is two different ones. So one is just, so this is first responders, first, and then what is the second one? Medical, 6726.
6726, where is she? Oh, that's the second option. You have two plans.
Okay. Oh,
One's
okay.
85% and the other one's an 80%.
Okay. So for one person, we have 38 employees, right? Is
That are
that
first
30?
responders, yes.
Okay.
81 that are not first responders.
Oh, I see the difference.
You see?
Okay.
So
I see
in the
difference.
plan today, there's 471 employees that have elected coverage.
Okay. And so then my question is, so have, Ms. Jessie, have you all looked at the one that would better fit the city? Because I know in the past, we have paid the difference.
Yes, ma'am. Councilmember Shropshire, the city has absorbed the increases for the past several years, actually. And a lot of it depends on what is available in regards to the, what's set for the millage rate. I'm not the finance person, so we would have to consult with Shannon Golden or someone from finance to see what would be available. But as the interim city manager said, we put in placeholders until we could see exactly what was going to come in for the final numbers from the marketing and underwriting efforts. So you have a couple of choices. You can absorb the full $833,841, or you could share it on some basis. And as Councilmember Butler said earlier about the COLA was 3%. So sometimes employees will say that you gave it and now you're taking it away. So that's why we are presenting this to you so that you can have as much information as possible.
Thank you, and you're correct, because it's just like with your seniors, and they give an increase in their Social Security, and then Medicaid go up, and they just take it right back. So that's how this would probably work. You give them a 3% COLA, then the insurance go up, so you're taking it back, and they didn't really get increased.
Yeah.
They're paying it all back in benefits. So, and what I heard was based on the millage rate, which the city could absorb the cost based on what we do with the millage rate. So that plays a factor in that, is the extra money that the city will have that they can put into this too, so it wouldn't be a burden on staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for your presentation. Just a few questions. One, what do you guys have scheduled for your open enrollment dates?
I'm sorry. Open enrollment?
Yes.
Ms. Jessie?
Do we have any open enrollment dates in place now?
We have tentative open enrollment dates later on this month. We haven't published anything yet.
Okay.
Because we know that we would have to wait until a decision has been made from the council. So we're waiting. It won't be a full-fledged where you bring in vendors and so forth, because we will be keeping the same plan. The plan isn't changing. And depending on what you do with the rates, they may or may not change as well. So it will be more of a passive open enrollment.
Okay, thank you. And I don't know if this is, Madam Mayor, if this is the time to, I want to know what the recommendation would be from the Finance Committee, because I know there are a lot of things that go into play, like you were saying, with regards to the decision that we made for the millage rate. So do we, a recommendation from the Finance Committee? I know interim city manager, you say that we did, you allocated, I guess you budgeted pretty much that the city absorbed.
Yeah, I think the question would be, how much did we put in the budget? Since we said we absorbed some of it, how much did we put in the budget? And from what I recall last year when we switched to Aetna, that we saved quite a bit of money, and the discussion was that the money that we used in savings would be used to offset at least this year, because it would be enough to cover the increase And so hopefully we have the numbers, one, that we put in the budget, and two, the numbers from last year that we saved from switching to Aetna, because there was a very specific conversation of using those funds to offset this year. We knew we'd have at least enough for 1 year, and we knew that there was a cap, so we could project what the amount would be. So do we have the numbers on what did we put in the budget for medical, retirement, and dental? And then two, how much did we save last year for Aetna, because, switching to Aetna, because that conversation was that we would use that for this year?
I'm going on memory, but I'm 90% sure the number that we saved was $320,000 going from Humana to Aetna. Now, the big money was when we went to Humana from Cigna.
Right.
That may be the one you're thinking that was one, it was a lot. That was over $1 million. So we did save a little bit, though, when Humana decided to exit the commercial market. It was not a decision that we would have done. We took it out to market. Aetna had a competitive proposal, as well as the second-year cap, which was very attractive. And that process between where Humana was and where Aetna came in was 320.
That takes that down to about 513. Do we have, as Councilmember Cummings asked, do we have the numbers tonight about what we budgeted? Two, if we don't, I think that's very critical information. And you're saying that you're going to do open enrollment later this month. We could put this on the work session to get those numbers and indicate that action may be taken at that meeting, because, I mean, I think we need to know how we're going to fund it. That's interim city manager. I don't see anybody from finance here, but like, I think we could have anticipated wanting to know how much did we budget in this budget year, how much did we project we would need to cover this. And so if we don't have those answers tonight, that's fine. We can put it on for Monday. But I don't think that unless council wants to take action tonight, but I think that's a very critical piece of information to know, so that we know what numbers we're really talking about. Like, we already budgeted $833,000, and it's already there. We had 320 plus 513. If we already budgeted the 89 for Medicare Advantage, and if we already budgeted 19,960, I mean, we kind of already approved it, but we could readopt that approval, but we need to know what numbers we budgeted.
Madam Mayor, one point clarification is that this year is the last year for the public safety portion that we were able to. It would take us through the end of this year, which ends December 31st. So this plan year starts January 1, 2025. So we would technically be going into that year without a subsidy.
So you were nodding your head, yes, that's what we used a lot of the savings for, was
We used all of them.
to be able to cover public safety for a specified period of time.
Yes,
that ends
ma'am.
at this end of this year?
That was the savings that were derived from moving to Humana originally. And that was carried for 3 years. That money has been used. We did have this $320,000 delta, sorry, Charles, $320,000 delta between Humana going out of the business and the competition from the marketplace when we selected Aetna. But no, we didn't tag that. We just didn't increase contributions for 2024. That's what you've done. So,
But this will be the end of that 3-year period, and so,
yes.
Okay. Council, did you have anything?
Yes, one more thing. So you're saying that the grace period for the the incentive that we were giving for our first responders, that's gone this year, correct?
That money that subsidized that
Okay,
has been used.
All right, so really, actually, we need to X the ones that we have at the top for first responders for the 80% and the 85%, correct?
Well, we're looking at this that you still have the difference. Your numbers on this page
Okay,
still maintains that subsidy. It became our new baseline.
okay.
So our recommendations are off of the rates that reflect the subsidy.
Thank you, I yield.
They're talking.
Councilmember Mitchell.
So I guess my question is to interim city manager. I know we did vote to give our employees a raise this year, and I know some of that money would come from, I guess from the millage rate. So if, I guess, with that, I know that came up earlier in the meeting. Do you know around what figure that was for that $20?
I do not. I know
Okay.
Shannon Golden is here this evening, and he might be able to respond to that. This presentation seeks to get a recommendation tonight on which plans, so we could look at it. As you know, when we do our budget is done before August 1st. So this information comes after we set the budget.
Right.
And so, obviously, when we get this in, we know there's going to be an increase. We budgeted for it. And depending on how you select it, we'll have to make adjustments depending on how you parse out, how you select. So tonight, we'd like to get a recommendation or selection so we'll know what the numbers are. And then maybe Monday, we can come back with specifics on the dollar amount, if that's even important. But if it's important, it's important.
I yield. Thank you.
Thank you. Has everybody done one time? I don't want to jump on. I think I agree with Councilwoman Shropshire and what Ms. Jessie said, that I would like to recommend that we go with we absorb the 833.84, 841, because if we've only given them a 3% raise and they were coming back and we're raising their insurance rates, it's as if they didn't receive anything. So if it pleases the council, I would support option number 1 and absorbing the entire 833.841. And if it pleases the mayor, I could put that in the motion.
I can have comments either before you make the motion or in discussion on that motion. I think knowing what we budgeted is critical to know where we're going to get the difference from. And so I see Mr. Golden has come in. If we don't know what we've already budgeted, to say that we could pick an option tonight and then figure out the numbers, if we had the numbers, they can actually, what would have been helpful is to run the numbers that we've budgeted already against the 3 options, so we would know the differences. And so if council wants to move forward tonight with the all-in, not knowing where the money is coming from or how much has been budgeted, I think council can make a decision to do that. But what would have been very helpful is with these 3 options, we know what the amount is, what did we budget, what's the amount, and what's the difference. And we don't have that tonight. Councilmember Butler, did you want to make the motion? Councilmember Shropshire is in.
Since Mr. Golden is here, can he come up and kind of give us an update or idea of where the funds are coming from and what was budgeted?
Of course you can. Shannon?
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor, Council. So with the current millage rate, we're proposing a 13 mill rate. Out of that, we're having an addition of the 2.4 million. So with that, we can budget the 833,000 for medical benefits as well as the Medicare Advantage of 89,000. It will come out of that budget.
I guess I'm just a little confused because we were just told that we already budgeted it. And we already included in the budget a projection of what the amounts would be.
Correct.
So do we know what that number is?
When we did the COLA, we did budget a 20% increase in benefit costs. It is a line item, but I don't have that figure with me right now to give to everybody. But we did budget that as 20% of the COLA.
There are two options. Council can make a decision tonight without the numbers, or council can get the numbers on Monday. We can include this on the work session as action may be taken and make the decision with the numbers. Shropshire?
How long will it take them to get the numbers? Because if they're going to start enrollment this month, I don't want to delay that. When I guess the question is, what have you all set a date to start enrollment?
No, ma'am, we haven't. We've been waiting until this was adopted. A plan, a version was adopted by the council.
And my next question is, if when they budgeted 20%, was that I'm assuming was included, was that budget based on the projection of the millage rate?
Yes, ma'am. It was based on the 13 mills.
Okay. Thank you.
With that said, based upon the 20% increase, based upon the COLA, and the fact that we do have some surplus, I'm comfortable with making the motion that we support item number, the first option, where the city would increase its budget to $833.84.
Well, there's three.
I'm sorry?
That's only one. The $833,841 is for medical, $89,400 for Medicare Advantage, and $19,960 for dental would be the city covering the 100% of the increase.
Thank you. Thank you for that correction. Yes, ma'am. That's the motion that I would make, that we would go with the city eating the increase for all three options.
There's a motion that the city cover 100% of the increase. Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. Discussion. Councilmember Mitchell.
So since I think it was projected at 13%, if we decide to share the cost, if we decide to go with the motion right now, we have to go with the 13% rate? So if we decide to share the cost, will we have some wiggle room in the millage rate? If we share the cost? Okay.
So the $833,841 for medical, $89,400 for Medicare Advantage, and $19,960 for dental comes to $943,201. The 13 mil gives an increase of about 2.4 million. I'm hopeful that during the discussion and public hearing tonight, staff is going to be itemizing what the $2.4 million increase is going to be used for. So there's an option C. There's a motion on the floor. We're in discussion on it. Option C is this item could be tabled until after the millage rate discussion and make a decision there, or we can move forward with the motion that's on the floor if there's no substitute motion. Councilmember Mitchell, you have something else?
No, I yield.
Councilmember Freely.
I would like to table this. I'm a little uncomfortable with, we have this idea that there's $2.4 million, but we may have it spent 10 different ways, it feels like, potentially, and so that makes me a little uncomfortable. Because we don't have a lot of specificity on where that 2.4 million is pegged right now.
Madam Mayor, thank you. So two things is that I hear a motion to table being contemplated, which means that you will pick it back up off the table tonight, and I'm not sure if that's what the plan is. If it is to reconsider it tonight, then that's appropriate. The other thing is that as a motion to table does not get a discussion. So if Councilmember Friedley is making that motion, then it would need to move to you asking for a second without debate.
All right, so I think I'm on the option 4, right? So there's a motion, if a motion to table is made, there wouldn't be discussion on that. It would be tabled to the end of the meeting. There's a motion on the floor. If that motion isn't made and a substitute motion isn't made, then we'd act on this motion. And so I don't think the motion to table requires a supermajority, but option 1, we're in the discussion motion coming to you right after I explain these. Councilmember Freely just mentioned potentially tabling. There's also, if we table, it's still decided tonight, and if that's the desire of the majority of council, that decision could still be made tonight. The other option is a substitute motion to move this to the work session so that we can get numbers. Councilmember Ziegler.
Yes, Madam Mayor. I make a motion to move this item to the work session on Monday, October 14th.
The substitute motion to move the item to the October 14th work session. Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion on the motion for the substitute motion?
We have 3 motions on the floor now. We have
3 motions.
I just want a question, clarification. We had 1 motion to table it.
That wasn't a motion. He mentioned
Oh.
that maybe it should be tabled. There was an original motion, and now there's a substitute motion, so that takes the original motion off the table while the substitute is being considered or discussed. See, Councilmember Butler and Councilmember Mitchell, and are you in for discussion on the substitute motion?
Yes, I think that we could table this and have this discussion tonight. The vendors are here. It's just a matter of making sure that everybody's comfortable with the numbers. I'm comfortable with that recommendation. But to belabor the point, we can have this discussion tonight. So I support tabling it till some more data is reached.
Okay, so there's a substitute motion on the floor. There's no one else in on the discussion. Each motion can have up to 2 substitute motions. So the option now is to either vote on the substitute motion of moving the item to the March 14th work session. I mean, no, it would not be March. That would be way too long, and we can't go back. October 14th work session. If there's no other hands or no other discussion on this motion, I'll call for the question for this unless there's a substitute to this one. So, Councilmember Shropshire.
Thank you. I would like to make a substitute motion that we table this item until
Second.
after the millage rate.
Second.
Properly seconded that another substitute motion has been made that we move table this item. And I don't have my rules up right now, Madam City Attorney. I know we could take 2 substitute motions. I wanted to say the rule number on that. And then if we table, I think it's actually tabled until the end of the agenda.
You can specify a time, or you can say until the end of the agenda. It's not debatable, so you can't call for discussion, and it's to be passed by majority vote.
Okay. All in favor on the motion to table? Those opposed? Motion carries. Motion was to table it until after the millage rate discussion. Millage rate hearing. Okay. Now we are on to PFAS and new drinking water treatment regulations. I was just in the EPA meeting today. There's going to be some information coming out tomorrow as well. Ms. Echevarria.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. Okay. Melissa Echevarria, the Water Resources Director for the City of East Point. Today I have a presentation on per and polyfluoroalkyl substances. They are referred to as PFAS. So you'll hear me constantly refer to them as PFAS. They are known as forever chemicals. Okay, and so these forever chemicals, when they're man-made, there are thousands of chemicals that do exist. EPA is only monitoring 180 of those substances. We are here today because as of April 2024, 6 will have to be removed from the drinking water system and for compliance regulations. Now, PFAS exist through food, through the plants that we grow, soil, and water, and also air. They're very small amounts that you can be exposed to by eating them, whether it's to-go packages, popcorn, microwavable bags, candy wrappers, but the main component is consuming it by drinking water. And so in 2024, the US EPA developed the National Primary Drinking Water Regulations for PFAS. And what you see are the 6 that now will have to be removed from the drinking water system. You have PFOA, that maximum contaminant level is 4 parts per trillion. You have PFAS. You have PFHXs, PFNA, you have a series of Gen X chemicals, and then you have a mixtures of PFBs, PFNAs, and HFPOs. And so how long have PFAS been around? Since 1930s. They were invented from non-coat or non-stick coating to pans, pots, and other uses, sealants, paintings, architectural resins, stain-resistant pesticides, fire-fighting foams. So again, these industries have been emitting these substances in watersheds throughout the United States. And so what are PFAS? They are man-made inventions gone bad. So again, these are pesticides, makeup, dental floss, nail polish, water-resistant clothing and shoes, shampoos, candy wrappers. And so where they're located, air, soils, water, they are everywhere. And so this diagram indicates the cycle of PFAS. So we have industrial facilities as well as manufacturing facilities that emit PFAS in the air, but they also discharge directly into our basins and watersheds. Okay, so wastewater from those facilities do not remove PFAS, and wastewater treatment facilities also discharge into our watersheds. Landfills, you have leachate through soils, which contaminate our groundwater and also our surface water, and also farmland also participate in PFAS. So again, the animals that we consume, the plants that we consume, the fish that we consume have all been exposed to PFAS. Now, as residents, we are exposed to that through the products that we purchase that contain PFAS. Now, what makes PFAS unique, again, they are resistant to heat, oil, and water, and they do not readily break down in the environment. So it's very difficult to remove them. So again, this is a list of products that contain PFAS: to-go food boxes, packaging, non-stick cookware, candy wrappers, cleaning products, plastic water bottles, any stain or water-resistant clothing, outdoor gear or shoes, waterproof carpentry, upholstery, cosmetics, feminine hygiene products, dental floss, and any type of food packaging that's resistant to oil and grease. You are exposed to that. So not only are we consuming it, which is a minimal risk, as far, well, not minimal, but it's minimal as far as shampoos and washing dishes. You have a minimal risk, but we're ingesting these products. Also, how we properly dispose of these products by polluting or discharging these materials not in garbage bins and putting them in our waterways, we are increasing that PFAS contamination. So, I have to look down because I can't read that up there. In terms of health impacts to PFAS, there's a high certainty for thyroid disease, increased cholesterol levels, liver damage, kidney cancer, testicular cancer, memory development in the fetus, reduced response to vaccines, and low birth rate. There's a lower certainty of obesity, early onset of puberty, pregnancy, and bowel diseases. So here is a list of the known contamination of PFAS in drinking water systems. To date, you have in purple the military sites, the blue is drinking water sites or plants, and the red are the other known sites. And keep in mind, no one is specifically sampling for PFAS, but some people have taken the initiative to do that. In the state of Georgia, here is the map for PFAS. Blue is where we have not actually sampled yet. Orange is above the reporting limit or the maximum contaminant levels, and green is below the reporting limit. The picture that you see here is what we assume that when we complete the sampling that we're required to come in compliance with over the next 3 years, the locations of PFAS in the United States. Here is a picture of Sweetwater Creek Reservoir. It is our reservoir in Douglas County in Lithia Springs, Georgia. It is just over 250 square miles. So what's next? We're waiting for the final rule. In that final rule, EPA believes that 100 million people would have preventative deaths and illnesses, and what they plan on doing is providing $1 billion in funding to help public drinking water systems test for PFAS. So in terms of East Point, our goal is meeting compliance. So here is Sweetwater Creek Basin. What we're doing now is we are source tracing. We are source tracing industries that have permits to emit PFAS. And so right now we are looking at a combination of industries and wastewater treatment facilities. And so right now we are researching the chemicals of 10 facilities that discharge into our water drinking supply source. So we have 3 years, and it has to be completed by 2027 to collect 3 years of drinking water sampling to determine if we have PFAS in our water system. Once we start monitoring for those chemicals, we have to put that in our annual water drinking report that we do submit to all the residents in January and February every year. So right now we are ahead. We have until 2029, we have 5 years to implement solutions and reduce PFAS in our system if it's located. And of course, by 2029, if we are above the maximum contaminant level, we will have to notify the residents and also probably receive a drinking water violation. But I do not see that. We're starting early for a reason, so I'm able to financially pay for it, retrofit the plant to make sure that we meet this critical deadline. So our action plan is meeting the deadline of 2027 and 2029. I am confident. PFAS has been on my radar for the last 5 years. So definitely we are planning for that. We even know exactly, we're just going to change the filtration system at the plant. So we're creating an information campaign for our residents, brochures, videos, bill inserts, and we're going to have community meetings to discuss PFAS in the water system. And again, right now we are looking for funding opportunities to offset those costs of retrofitting our current water treatment plant to be able to remove it from our system. So what can residents do? Limit the use of PFAS products. Read all labels before you consume or use. Stay informed by reading the information provided by city brochures, videos, bill inserts, and attend the community meetings. We have completed 2 quarters, so I only have 6 months of drinking water data. It's not enough. Again, you have to have 3 years of consistent, and the reason why we have to have 3 years of consistent data because the water is ever changing. Drought conditions, whatever type of manufacturing or industrial facility, whatever they're manufacturing per day is going to change what we're seeing in the water. So are there any questions?
Thank you. There are 2 questions. The first one is my immediate concern of an unfunded mandate by the federal government. So the federal government should be providing money for us to retrofit our water plant. What's the probability of that happening?
I think promising. I think we just have to apply. I'm really aggressive, and we've been successful applying for federal funding. But in this case, if I don't, it takes time. So sometimes we apply and we may not receive the money for a year. I would just make sure that I keep our engineering studies and all of our records, and maybe we can apply for reimbursement.
So the second question is polyfluoroalkylanes are very small. What technology has been developed to even filtrate or to filter?
It's a certain type of carbon filter
So
that will
new?
trap, they trap it. So that's the thing, they're heat resistant and they don't readily break down. So we're gonna use a carbon type, cold type filtering system to remove it from the plant. So we will be placing it either at the plant and also at the intake at Sweetwater. Now the good thing is the numbers we're seeing now, we're actually removing them pretty much from our system. But again, with 6 months of data, it's just not enough. How water treatment goes, just because we see it one time is not necessarily a violation. They go off of averages. So right now, we're required to get 3 years of averages to determine what is in the water. And then again, in our drinking water quality report, I will put that in there so residents know.
Do we receive any of the runoff water from the airport?
No.
Okay.
No. So keep in mind, our drinking water supply is not in Fulton County. Our water comes 22 miles from Douglas County.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that thorough presentation on PFAS and being ahead of this. As you said, we've been talking about this for quite a while. We knew it was on the horizon. I want to emphasize, if you can go back to the slide that shows the country, that this is a national issue. This is not just an East Point issue. This is impacting cities all across this country, and some more disproportionately than with us. Some people are feeling it already. And when Senator Ossoff was here and announced the $15 million in the Water Drinking Act that he was introducing, we talked with him about the funding that we think we would need to retrofit our plant, which is about $2 million. And so we've started having those conversations. Hopefully in the next round or two of congressional directed spending, we'll be able to get some funding. Our federal senators and Congresswoman Williams have been very supportive of our water infrastructure needs and providing funding over probably about $4 million at this point for different other infrastructure projects that we have. So we've put it out there and have started making the ask and indicating that this is an issue and that we're trying to get ahead of it. And I could tell you $2 million is substantial, not as high as a lot of other places who are directly by some of these sources and are dealing with these issues right now. But again, it's not just East Point. It's not just our water source. This is a national issue. 3 years of testing is required, and then within 5 years, a solution has to be in place. But our water and sewer director is ahead of this and will likely probably have our plant retrofitted again, knock on wood, but we've had great support with our federal delegation through congressional directed spending and other grants. Is it the water, not the water keepers,
Yeah, it's several grant opportunities available. There's GFA funding available.
Yeah.
There are loans available. So right now, our estimate is between 2 and 2.5 million just to retrofit the plant, just for PFAS.
All right, I think this was just information for us, and when do you anticipate starting the community meetings?
In the next few months. So right now, we're working on a video. I've already started that. We just have to just put some, I want to put things tailored specifically to East Point in there. I also want to put in some information or recommendation from EPA. They are recommending some filters be used, but I need to have that in writing. I don't really want residents to install filters because they can change the composition of the water. About 6 months ago, we received a complaint about a woman drinking water and it was burning her mouth. When we went in her house, she put filters in it and it was changing the water and it's making it more acidic. So right now, the brochures, it's going to be EPA recommendation. We need to see how they're certifying those filters before we put that information out there, but that's the goal. We've already started with basic information, and I'm about 50% complete with the videos and the bill inserts. What I can do is do another presentation, and then before we put that out there. But the goal is to have everything available to be transparent as to what we're doing, and definitely meeting that 3-year timeline and target.
In my service on the EPA's Local Government Advisory Committee, when we have these discussions about PFAS, the thing I continue to raise is there needs to be a national communication campaign. This is not a municipal issue. This is a federal issue. And now the federal government is finally looking to regulate PFAS while knowing that it existed. And there needs to be a consistent, coordinated campaign that starts at the national level. The example I use in those meetings is when former First Lady Reagan was in office around this is drugs, this is your brain on drugs, the Just Say No to Drug campaign, right? Like, so we need something similar for PFAS because this is going to be a very, very huge issue. But I appreciate you being ahead of it, staying on top of it. I know that there are some lawsuits that have been filed where, again, there's literally, those, fire foam companies that are clearly polluting the water source, and so those are more direct. Lawsuits have been filed. I think there's in the Metro Atlanta region recently around what potential lawsuits may be available. I mean, that is definitely something that I think we should explore, but lawsuits take years, generally, especially things like this. So the fact that you have multiple strategies operating at the same time, I again commend you on that. And so thank you for this overview. We look forward to the next one prior to information being shared with the community, and I guess the details of the community engagement and information plan that you'll have. And then again, we need to just keep asking for funding through congressional directed spending grants or any other resources to continue to get ahead of this, because once it goes through this course and the cycle, like we're going to be talking about water needing to be cleaned, and so the more we can be ahead of that, the better. So thank you so much for your leadership.
Thank you.
Councilmember Butler, road repaving plan.
Thank you, City Manager. May we have Cordell come to the podium, please?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Cordell Hall. I'm the Assistant Director of Public Works and the Transportation Division Manager, and I'm here to help answer any questions that Councilmember Butler may have regarding our process for paving the streets.
Thank you. The purpose of this is to do two things. In order for the city to operate more efficiently, we must start to quantify our data and have measuring points, and I would like to apply that to our road repaving. And so I want us to come up with a 12 to 24-month plan of road repaving. Now, do you have the data regarding, when you came to us last, you said that each road gets a score.
Yes.
Do you have that data in terms of scoring, and have you scored all the roads?
So yes, sir, the last, what we call pavement assessment analysis, where we have a consultant come through and drive every street in the city. They use cameras and various other technologies to score all the streets from 0 to 100, what we call a PCI, which is Pavement Condition Index. Our last one was 2020 to 2021 that we completed. We have that data for every street in the city and the maps and everything. I actually worked with IT just today to try to get that online and available for everyone. But yeah, our last one was 20 to 21, and they're generally done every 5 years.
So, Council, what I want us to consider is the following. To have a 12 to 24-month repaving plan. So in that plan, we want to, one, quantify the data, which we already have. And then I would like for us to start to create a street matrix. And what that means is, one, say for example, I'll use my own street, Duke of Gloucester. So Duke of Gloucester has a score of, and I'm not sure how the PCI scored, if it's 1 to 10 or?
This was 0 through 100. So it
0
may be,
to 100.
Yeah, 50, 60, 70, different scores.
So what I would like for us to do is, so every street is scored, but also in our decisions to repave streets, in addition to the quality of the street, there should be some other variables that we need to put in the mix also. One is equity. You know, so we can treat all wards equally. So you don't want to have one ward that's get more than another ward. Another thing we must consider is, because last time you spoke, some roads may get a minor treatment which will help prolong them, while other roads will get major repaving.
Yes.
So what I'm hoping that we can do in the next 12 to 24 months is, one, have this score, come up with the matrix. Two, I would like for us to publish it, so people can go online, look at their streets, and three, they will be able to say, oh, your street has a score of XYZ, but not this PCI score, but it would be a total score that you guys come up with. And this says your street is scheduled to be repaved in the next 6 months, 12 months, 5 years, so that one of the things I want us to do is to be able to keep the city accountable. And when people ask us about our streets, we can say, here, go to eastpointcity.org /street repaving, put in the name of their street, and it tells the score and it tells the approximate paving date. And so I would like, with council's approval, to allow the city manager to direct the staff to start to work on quantifying this data and coming up with some matrices so that we can start to really, and I think another thing that we have to do too in that matrix is, what is the cost of repair? How old is the street? When the last time it was repaired? The condition of the neighborhood? Because there's some streets that haven't been repaved since 1960.
Yeah.
And so, is that possible for us to do?
I'm looking at Mr. Cadell, and I want to know, does he understand?
Yes.
What's being, okay.
I understand. With the data we have, and along with put together a more transparent plan for our short-term and long-term goal of repaving the streets. It takes some effort, but it can be done. I think we thinking the same thought, or we've been kind of working on that, putting together like a 2-year paving plan already in-house. So that's something we definitely can work on putting together.
So, how long do you need from us, the council, to come? How can we start to make some milestones to, I think the first milestone would be, is okay, coming up with this matrix. All right? So do you think it would take you guys 2, 6, 12 months in order to come up with an accurate matrix that we can say, okay, this is good for our consideration? And then from that matrix, then you can start to grade those streets. Because what I would like for us to do is really have an established goal, have a deadline for that goal, to be presented, and then for those, so we start with the matrix, so we say we have that done in 6 months. By the end of 12 months, we know what every street is graded. By 24 months or 18 months, we can say, here, you can put in your street name, and it's going to tell you an approximate date when your street will be repaid.
So the study that we did sort of completed that for us. So it has the ratings, it has the street classification, whether it's like a major road, a residential street, it has other factors that are built into it, but it may be a little bit much information just to have, so like to your point, to have a more generalized data for the public to view. That's something we can work on doing to make that more digestible for the public.
So with the council's permission, how much time do you need before we can follow up with you guys to talk about the first step in this program?
We can come back in a month and...
Well, let's not be ambitious.
No,
my understanding is that Public Works is coming to us on Monday. The last time that Mr. Reeves was here, he said Public Works was coming to us on the work session in this month with information relative to that. So,
I mean, we have information, but in the form of what Councilman Butler's asking for. I mean, we can come back and speak on it, but to take what he's requesting and put it into a different format, we'll probably need some more time to do.
Councilman,
I'm sorry?
I said, are you done?
No. So I guess my question is, I don't want to be ambitious.
Okay.
So the first milestone is coming up with the matrix.
Okay.
Do you think, so is 2 months adequate, or do you need 3? Because you're saying 30 days, but I don't want it.
I understand. I think that would be doable and fair for us to really get some more input from you on exactly what we're trying to do and how we want to display that. Like I said, we have the data available. Just to get into a more graphical format for the public, we'll need some time to work with our GIS and our IT. So I think 2 months would be doable.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm done. Thank you, Mayor.
From Martin Rogers.
And thank you. And what I wanted to ask was, it sounds like you already have a study done.
Yes.
So all you need to do is disaggregate the data that you have for the presentation.
Correct.
Okay. And the study that's already been done, has that been citywide?
Yes.
All of the streets in the city? Okay. Well, the only thing that I want to add to that is, when you come back, could you please come back with all of the projects in a way, I think, like Councilmember Butler said, for our residents to know? Because Williamsburg, I'm getting ready to send you all an email now for the fall follow-up about the speed bumps.
Okay.
But also what you all are doing and when you are doing it.
Okay.
I think that's the accountability piece that I know I'm looking for. You know, oftentimes I send an email, then it says, okay, the fall, but when? October, November. So I would like to see that brought back as a part of the presentation that you have, so. And then maybe a timeline of when you're going to tackle those projects. I think that would be beneficial too. Thank you.
Councilmember Cummings.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you.
I have Councilmember Cummings, Councilmember Shropshire, and Councilmember, but Councilmember Cummings can't speak because we have too many lights. Go ahead,
Okay, thank you. So I know you guys are coming back with the, and I think she may have already just kind of mentioned it, just pretty much some sort of a calendar, you know, when the dates for those streets that you are going to make improvements to, if they're going to be repaved, speed calming devices or whatever. Because I'm just thinking, I know for Councilmember Butler, you're talking about if they input their street, it should be, you would like to see something that, you know, when their street is going to be repaved or whatever. And I just think, so for that, you pretty much have to put together some sort of database or some sort of program that you can put every street in there. And I think it would be, and that's a lot. So I think because I can just say, when is Cherry Blossom going to be repaved, and there's no time that they're going to repave that street. So I think, maybe, just a suggestion, every project that you have,
Okay.
if that's listed, as opposed to, I mean, I get plugging in the streets.
No, I'll come back to you.
Okay. So, just a suggestion, I don't know, how, what that looks like, but I mean, I understand what you're saying, but, to be able to, for it to even spit out the data, you gotta have something that people can put in, so that's just pretty much, you're gonna have to list every street that's in the city of East Point, and I don't know how, I don't know what, how much work is put in there, but if there's a list of all of the projects, and then maybe something else to the side that says, where maybe a resident that's requesting that their street be repaved, or maybe something that we have not seen, they can put it there, and then from there you go and you'll take a look at that and possibly add it into the mesh of all the other stuff, all the other road projects that we have.
Okay.
So just a suggestion. I yield.
Councilmember, was it Shropshire or Mitchell?
It was-
Councilmember, oh, yeah, Councilmember Mitchell.
Thank you. So did you say that it's going to take you 30 days to come up with a list of the streets that need to be repaved in the next 12 to 24 months?
So we have, from the study, we have a lot of the data, and we have a proposed list. But I think Councilman Butler was asking for a way for a format for the public to view it. So we want to come back with that data in a more usable format.
Okay, but it is on the website already, right?
Well, I just was contacting IT today to get that on to the website. We have the information. It's been trying to put together a whole page for transportation, but at least wanted to get that data for the public. So I'll follow up after this meeting to confirm.
Okay, but we do have a GIS map on the website already, and it already has the grades of every street on there.
Yes, it's a PDF format of a huge map, but it's not in a GIS format like Google Maps or something that you can scroll into and click on or do anything with it.
Okay. And so that's what it's going to take 30 days for you to do, is to have the GIS map created?
That can be done depending on our staff's availability to help put it in that format, but to get additional information into it for each street may take some time editing.
Yep, I'm sorry, Councilmember. That will take some time because that involves another department. And so what Mr. Cadell is saying, he will refer that to IT, and we have a GIS mission there, so they'll be able to deal with that. We'll get back with you on the date exactly on when we can have that GIS.
Okay, I'm just trying to figure out what is going to take 30 days?
So to that point too, coordinating with another department, getting the information in a GIS, getting it to a format that's usable, getting information in it, that for everyone to view may take some time, along with our other efforts that we're working on.
Okay, and every year you come up with a list already, right? So you already have a list for 2024.
So we're running on kind of a backlog from our paving kind of slowed down over the previous years. So we're trying to, in an effort to catch that up, as to point, get like a multi-year list, which is about 70 or 80 roads in the city that we're putting together now. So we should have some information for the next 12 to 24 months on what streets we plan on paving.
Okay. So I had emailed y'all on September 11th to have this on the agenda for the work session on Monday. So I was hoping that, we could go over the list and talk about the backlog, because there are a number of streets that have not been repaved for a very long time. Whenever I go to neighborhood meetings, I hear my street has not been repaved since I've lived here, and I've lived here for 30 years. So I just wanted to, we'll follow up on that on Monday.
That delay is coming. We have a consultant who's working on that. They're kind of behind on their deliverable to us. So we're trying to get them back on track so we can get the street list back available to you all as well. I'm sorry.
So what does the consultant do?
So that we give them our proposed list of streets and what we want to pave based on the study, the recommended method of repairing, but we have to get all the quantities and everything together. How big is the street? How long? How much thickness? Do we need to replace the storm drain? Do we need to replace the curb? ADA ramps. It's all these things that have to go into when we're paving the street. It's not just paving the road. So they're going and doing the field work for us, putting together the actual plan for us to bid out for construction.
Okay. And how long do you think it's going to take for us to repave all the streets that are in the backlog?
This is anticipated to be about a 2-year plan for a 2-year, multi-year contract for a construction company. So it'll be a multiple year project. Instead of us putting together a smaller list for 1 year, we just want to already have it in place. And that way we can get caught up and hopefully put out another list to continue paving the streets annually, instead of having these gaps which we had in some of these previous years.
Okay. Okay, thanks. We'll discuss this on Monday, too.
Okay.
Thank you. So the plan or what you're bringing back is putting a list on the city's website of the streets possibly that needs to be paved, or what you all have selected, is what I'm hearing.
We can bring that proposed list back to you all for the discussion prior to putting it on the website so that we can discuss it.
Okay, so here's my question. Are those streets that the city is behind on, are those the streets that are part of T-Splash?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So then so you already have a list of roads that need to be paved, and you basically, what you're gonna lay out is the time frame of when these roads, the estimated time frame as to when they're supposed to be completed.
I think it will be a little hard to know when they're going to be complete at this time, considering we hadn't even gotten to the point of getting anything under contract or anything. But that's the ultimate goal. Once we have all those things in place, then we can kind of lay out a time frame when they can be paved.
Okay, okay. So those are the roads that we're talking about, the roads that's on the T-Splash, that's already been approved?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then aside from that is the roads that's not on the list that you all may do on a smaller scale, if I'm...
So I want to bring back to Monday's discussion, the roads that we have getting basically designed now by a consultant.
Okay.
To review the upcoming list that we have.
That's the T-Splash list?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Excuse me. Yes, thank you for your presentation. This is a little off topic, but as you guys are surveying the roads, do you have a similar kind of program that surveys trees?
No, not from our department standpoint. From Public Works, we don't survey any trees.
What department, I guess, would that go through, or how would that work?
The East Point Power does the tree maintenance. East Point Power.
Okay, but I would even say this, as my colleagues, as we try to figure out what to do with, this money from, the millage rate. I know it's a little off topic, but
no problem.
I know we used to contract out our tree cutting and trimming, and I believe the cost was about $300,000, $350,000 to buy a truck that cuts from 60 to 90 feet. And I was just like, once we're trying to figure out what to do with this money, just take into consideration we actually buy a tree truck and kind of start a program like that, if possible. Because I know the power outages have been a thing. And that's maybe a program we can have running all year. But thank you for that. Not yet.
Yeah, this conversation is very deja vu. I've asked Mr. Reeves several times when he's come before us for similar information. We have T-Splash. How many years is T-Splash? 5 years? Yeah, it's a 5-year plan that we have to submit prior to it getting approved on the ballot. We have LMIG, Local Maintenance Improvement Grants. The study has been done and it's been used for decades to determine the roads. And although we've asked for information, and also on the website there used to be information about the projects, and we've been told that that's gonna be updated, and we're supposed to get an update on Monday, and here we are tonight talking about an additional 60 days. I think a lot of the information that's being requested, we already have. You already have the study. All of the roads are already rated. If you put an Excel spreadsheet online, you can type in a name and search it, Control F. So like, when are we really going to get, and I know you're not the director, Mr. Reeve isn't here tonight, but when are we really going to get, I was optimistic that Monday we'd be getting some information that would hopefully address a lot of these questions and have some level of leadership and plan from the Public Works Department about information that has been requested several times. So you're not the director, so I won't pose it to you. Mr. Brown is here, but this is on the agenda for Monday.
Okay.
So, you know, based upon what you're sharing now, I'm not really optimistic about what we'll be getting, but my assumption was that we're starting with the grading and the ratings, and that those are decisions you're making as we decide how to prioritize. And yes, we can add additional factors and figure out how we want to reprioritize, but we should have baseline information already. We should have baseline information that we can use to decide, okay, here's how this is additional information, these additional things that we want to do, and you're saying it's going to take 60 days to get that. So we'll see what we get on Monday in the work session. A repavement plan. Like, you all have to plan out these projects for years. You already know what projects are in the works. Whether or not it's every street in the city and how that, where the funding is coming from for that. I mean, those are definitely things that we need to be talking about, but we should already have a baseline. We should already have information. So, I don't know, you said you sent them the report, the grading report to put online, or you sent it to us?
To IT to put online.
Okay, so that'll be in the public works section.
Yes.
So we'll have that by Monday. What else, what other information are y'all anticipating bringing on Monday?
Have the full list for every street, have that online, all the, from the actual study, have the study online, and then come to you with the proposed list that we're trying to put out for construction for the next couple of years, this fall, so.
Okay, so we'll know on Monday whether or not we need additional information. It sounds like you're planning to bring quite a bit. And when will the information, the different like T-Splice, LMIG, all of the different projects, L Circle, like those types of things, when will they be online again? Because I remember several years ago, y'all used to have that. You can go on and like, it'll show you like the projects, and then you can click it and like get information about like the stages in, how much it costs, and like all of that stuff.
So that page we had for, I think it was iCity Works at some point.
Say what
It was iCity Works, I think.
Yeah, I think
it might have expired, or we no longer was using it citywide, so we don't even have access to that anymore. We are updating Fulton County's Socrata system, which we may be able to use as our own, which has all the same information that you're looking for. So.
Okay. So the Fulton County will be similar to the iCity Works.
Yes.
But then it'll just be tied into the full system.
Yes.
A full county system. Okay. What's the name of that program?
Socrata.
Oh, Socrata. I have heard of that.
So that's their reporting system. So we have to input our information into that system.
Oh, and so Fulton County has a website that we can direct people to that would have that information on?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. This is Councilman Butler. Anything else? We have a presentation on Monday from Public Works.
Yes, I do have something else.
Go ahead.
I think the council is missing what I'm trying to convey. And so what I'm trying to do is, in order to make city government more efficient and to hold people accountable fairly, I think that what's been requested is some gaps in what's been requested for Monday and what I'm proposing we do. What I'm asking him do the next 30 to 60 days is come up with a fair matrix of how we score and grade and determine what these streets and how you repave them, not what he has historically. What I'm asking for us to do is not only we consider the the quality of repair, but also the cost of repair, the steps in construction, and then what a person would put in the data is, they will put in Duke of Gloucester, you will have, it's scheduled to be done first quarter 2026. And in that, it can say engineering done January 2026, road construction starting in March 2026, and then have a 6-month gap in there. I think what we do, and we have to be careful of this, if we put unfair expectations on staff and then they don't deliver on the unfair expectations, then everybody feels bad about that situation. Staff feels bad, council feels bad, nobody's feeling. And so right now what I think is happening is, yes, we have a score, but in order to adequately communicate to our residents, when is your street going to get paved? Because everybody just want to know about their street. If we have all of the streets, every one of them, and then we have a score, your street is a 100, or whatever that score is, and based upon the life of that street, how long it's been in service, our equity models, your street may not be paved until 2026 or 2027. Whereas you have some streets like Washington Road that are scheduled to be paved after construction, because not only is it the wear of the street, but it's also the use of the street. How often is it used? And then also we can have in that matrix, where your street is, we just gonna fill in the cracks from the spider webs. And then that would give you an additional 60 months or so of life or whatever. So what I'm asking to do in this presentation is designed to have us think a step forward and how we quantify that, and giving staff enough time, even with council's input, as to how do we anticipate the cost of repair, because those are projections that would have to be made also with economics and finance, and if it's in 2026, then you're going to have to account for inflation, all of these things, because choosing which road to repave may also be a function of dollars and cents. One of the critiques I think we've all heard, the only roads that are being repaved are T-splosh roads. So we do have money in the general fund every year for road projects, for those to be completed too. So some of these questions after we start to develop this matrix is, well, why is this not done? Why is it taking L Street so long? And so, but now that we're able to quantify these things by putting these different inputs in there, then we can establish realistic target dates, and then we can also have victory dates. This is scheduled to be completed in third quarter 2025, and then here's the victory date. So then people can say, oh, this is when it was done. So I'm not asking for a list and demanding when a road project is going to be done. What I'm saying is, if we take another step forward, and to really start to think about what goes into repaving a road other than the concrete, because there has to be, the engineering work has to be done. All of these things have cost associated with that. And so what I ask that you guys do on Monday in the work session, start to think about some of those inputs that could be needed in doing that. So this is beyond just an update on the road. So I don't want, so yes, I am familiar with the data that Cordell and the Public Works have. But what I'm asking us to do is to extend that data so that we can make some realistic milestones, so we can start to communicate to the public something realistic. So I can tell Sir Henry, well, based upon our budget, the score of your street, you guys not going to get repaved until 2025 or 2026. And I would like to be able to do that for every street, so then that way the residents can hold us accountable and we can hold them accountable too. I don't think we have enough information to be able to adequately communicate that, and then that's why we get heartburn on the council side because we go to staff, and I don't think we're allowing them all the information, or they don't have all the information to tell us what's happening. And I'm saying, here's where I see the gap, and I'm asking for council people, if you see something too to add into this, then we can start to do this in every department. If we really start to quantify, set realistic dates, and then we can hold people accountable without there being heartburn. So I want to explain that difference to the council. I think Ms. Cummins asked about timeline. But yeah, so the matrix includes a lot of things that's not included in his study that he already has. You know, Lakeside Preserve is asking for their streets to be repaved, and they're probably 20 years old, but then you have other streets that are 40, 50 years old. So we have to be able to quantify and be able to adequately communicate to all those people who have these concerns. And then I think if we do this, then we can become more efficient in how we do these roads reconstruction, and we can start to, if you have a list of roads and you know you got to hit so many roads in this year based on your matrix, then we can start to budget for those things, and we can start to make sure that happens. And then that goes over into our procurement, where they're out there, already have the bid in. I know by the first quarter of 2024, we need to have bids in for all of these streets. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. I'm saying.
Yeah, and so I hope that adds information to what the council is thinking too, because it's not just, hey, when my street gonna be paved, and I know you got this done. It's more than that. And that's the reason for this presentation, is to add the more.
Yeah, I don't think we're all saying anything differently. We need to stop talking about abstract and get the information we already have. A lot of this starts sounding like we're getting into the details of operations, which is why we need a city manager, a permanent city manager, and leadership in the city. But I look forward to Monday, what you all provide, so that we can know what our baseline is. There have been a number of questions from a number of different people about this type of information. So hopefully we'll actually get it on Monday, and we can see what opportunities there are from a governance perspective. And hopefully we'll have a permanent city manager soon, and they'll provide some leadership and be able to bring forward these strategic plans that should come from operations around how we do things, and we can provide input into that. So we look forward to seeing you on Monday.
Thank you.
Next up is Hurricane Helene relief assistance. And so this is a month where we did not have a meeting for 2 weeks. Usually there's only 1 week in between our meetings. And so although Hurricane Helene happened, I believe about maybe 11 days ago, I reached out to GMA, Georgia Municipal Association, because they had sent out an email to everyone throughout the state asking for cities to let them know if they needed assistance or if there were cities that wanted to assist. And so in response to reaching out to them, they mentioned Augusta and Douglas, and I talked with the mayor of Valdosta, as well as, and Perry also came up. So what we know right now is I wasn't able to communicate with the mayor of Perry. I reached out to him. But what GMA shared is that Douglas, Georgia needs tarps. But when I spoke with Mayor Polk today, he was actually on the line with a federal legislator. So maybe they'll be getting that from them. But and he and I haven't had a conversation to figure out what the list is. When I talked to Valdosta Mayor Scott Matheson, he indicated that initially it was food and water, but they really were taken well care of with that. At this point for them is cleanup. And so they had a lot of damage. There's a company that has a sizable contract to pick up the debris, but they are working with Samaritans Plus as the organization to actually work with residents to, chop up trees, clean up the debris to a point that it can be picked up. And so right now they have about 1,000 work orders in. They anticipate that that will get up to 1,700 or more. And so he suggested sharing the Samaritans Plus information, and they do have a website. And if you go on there, that's where I learned about Perry. So when you look at the different sites or projects that they're working on, cities that they're working with, Perry, Georgia, and Valdosta, Georgia are there. As it relates to Augusta, I spoke with Mayor Garnett Johnson, and he shared that their water system has been restored. They're at about 90% of power being restored, but that they need things like diapers and baby formula, baby wipes, tissue, like those types of things. And so he is going to send to me a list of items that they need, as well as nonprofit organizations that they're working with, so that we can potentially, or the goal tonight is to consider doing a drive as we've done for other natural disasters to provide some support to cities throughout the state. I also spoke with ECG, because ECG has put out a call for assistance in preparation of Hurricane Milton, which is now coming. I spoke with Amazon, and because they were the ones that helped coordinate actually getting the items to the locations the last time around, logistics, and they have suspended efforts for this week because people are gearing up for Milton, but there's a potential opportunity to partner and get some support with them around getting the items logistically to where they need to go. And so what we have now is Augusta, that we know of, who's going to send us a list of items that I think are the type that we've done drives for before, where for residents and anyone who wants to help be a part of providing assistance. Valdosta and Perry is Samaritans Plus, and people can go online to indicate if they want to volunteer. For them, it's really about the cleanup, and then I still need to hear back from Douglas. And then what we also know is that Hurricane Milton is now a Category 5 hurricane and is expected to make landfall Wednesday morning around 9 a.m. And it is expected to be in Florida. I don't know what the path is right now, but there may also be, as we get through this, some needs around that. And so with the suspension of, I guess, logistics right now until after Hurricane Milton, we could consider doing as we've done before, having a drive maybe this Saturday to get people to come and just, if they want to donate, we have a central location where they come bring their items. We'll get the list from the mayor of Augusta tomorrow. I also follow back up with Douglas. Again, when I reached out to GMA, they said they really hadn't heard much from many other cities, and so that's how I'm coming up with the list of cities as it relates to who may still be in need. And then we can talk on Monday at the work session to see if, one, there's additional needs from Hurricane Milton, and two, we'll probably have more information from Amazon then around logistics coordination and things of that nature. So wanted to share that with council tonight so that we can decide how or if. Previously what we've done is council has approved a motion to have a relief drive. Staff coordinates it. We've had, what are those trucks called? Like U-Haul trucks. That people can come and provide items to. I know Saturday we'll be at the Jefferson Park Rec Center for the Healthy Point Mind, Body, and Soulful Circuit Saturday. I think logistically, though, we've always kind of done them here at City Hall for like getting people in and out. And so if we, I wanted to bring that to council tonight for us to have that discussion. And again, we'll be able to talk about it again on Monday in the event that there's need around Hurricane Milton. Again, ECG is asking cities if their electric departments will be willing to send some people to Florida or to where the need is as it relates to power restoration. And it sounds like Georgia is pretty much restored. Georgia Power has a lot of these customers, but ECG has been in communication with them, and Georgia Power is not asking like ECG or MEAC cities for support. So they feel they have the Hurricane Helene under control. Councilmember Shropshire.
Thank you. So the ask is to go ahead on and put it in place. So when you get the list, they'll already know. So staff can go ahead on, because usually staff go ahead on, get the truck. And the place is, usually the drop off is like right across the street in that parking lot. Easy to get in, easy to turn around and come back out. So is that the ask or the motion?
Yeah, so I think right now with the information that we have, if there's a motion to have a hurricane relief drive, and allow staff to coordinate the efforts for that drive, because once we get the information, we'll know what information to put on the flyer about the types of items they need and things of that nature.
So
but we would be able to go ahead and give that directive tonight so that they can work on it.
Was so moved.
Second.
There was a lot of talking. So the motion is to have, it was the first part. I said to have the hurricane relief drive and have staff coordinate it. Okay, that's the motion. It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? Councilmember Martin Rogers.
I know that I've been contacted by businesses in Ward D that want to donate. So do I provide that information to staff, or should I?
So I think once we get the flyer, we could share it with all of our contacts and network, like people who might want to. I mean, you could share it with staff as well, but like once we have a flyer designed by staff, we can share that out through our distribution, individual distribution channels as well as through the city.
Thank you.
Councilmember.
Yeah, I had the same question. So is this strictly donations, or is there a budgeted item, or how is that going to work?
So there is a staff time to it, right? So the staff coordinating and being there. I think we used to do them for like 3 hours or something. They set the time on Saturday, right, for the drop. So there's staff for that. There's a U-Haul truck, right, that we would get. So I think from a cost perspective, there's that. Mayor Garnett Johnson in Augusta also indicated that they're working with some nonprofits, and I know the last time we did, when some people wanted to provide money, and so he's also going to share with me maybe the nonprofit they're working with if people want to provide funds instead of maybe items.
So we can solicit those type of donations, and okay.
Yeah, so once he gives us the trusted organization, right, that people could donate to.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed?
I abstain.
Okay. Next up, boards and, do roll call, I'm sorry, we had an abstain.
And for clarifications, Mayor, this will be on this Saturday upcoming? Or just a future date?
I think Saturday is ideal, but I don't want to lock in the motion in the event that they decide to do a Friday or something.
I just wanted to clarify.
So it's,
no date was, okay, got it.
Yeah, Saturdays generally work better, but for staff to organize and coordinate a hurricane relief drive.
Got it. Okay. Starting roll call. Councilmember Shropshire. Yes. Councilmember Freely. Councilmember Ziegler. Councilmember Cummings is not in the room. Okay. Councilmember Mitchell. Councilmember Butler. And Councilmember Martin Rogers, excuse me. The motion passed.
All right, next up is boards and commission meetings. Councilmember Shropshire.
Thank you. And I had this item placed on the agenda because I do have questions about our boards and commissions and their meeting. Are all of our boards meeting in person, or are they still on Zoom?
No, I think there's one board in particular, I think, that is meeting virtually. That's the Planning Commission.
Is there a particular reason why they're still meeting virtual when everyone else is in person and have been for quite some time?
I don't know. I can follow up, though.
So what do we do? Because if we're meeting in person and all the other boards are meeting in person, then they need to come back and meet in person.
Just make a motion that all boards be present.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to chime in as attorney for the Planning Commission prior to even taking this role. I know that, well, when I did come on, they were virtual. I guess that was probably during
COVID. It was COVID.
Yeah, during the pandemic, that's what I was going to say. And they had not returned. I did reach out because this is not the first time this has come up. Maybe it's the first time it's come up amongst the city council. But I did reach out to Kristen Settlemeyer, who is over at the AG's office, just to determine whether or not some provisions of Title 50, the Open Meetings Act, supported or didn't support, right? Whether or not the commission could meet in person or virtually as they're doing. I have not heard back from her, but certainly I think Mr. Brown is correct that if that is the will of this board, a motion could be made. The section of 50-14-1, which I believe the commission was relying on, if you just give me 1 minute. There's a subsection in here that talks about when meetings can be held virtually, which was changed during or right after the pandemic or the state of emergency was lifted. So obviously you can make a motion. I'm surprised I have not heard back from the AG's office. They're usually more responsive. So just wanted to chime in with that insight.
Thank you. I just think that in all fairness, if every other board is meeting in person as well as council, then surely planning and zoning can meet in person as well. There should not be any stipulations, or they should be treated different, where they're still continuing to be on Zoom and every other board is meeting in person. So that would be my motion, to have all boards come back and meet in person.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and probably seconded. Any discussion? Mr. Brown, did you have something? Your light on?
No, madam.
Councilmember Martin, right?
I wanted to know, I understand being offline due to previously what we as a world dealt with, but how long have they been offline? Not offline, but not in person and meeting via Zoom. How long have they been meeting?
Brad was still here, when Mr. Bowman was still here. I'm not sure of the year, but that's when I came on board. It was when Mr. Bowman was here. So, I mean, COVID was what, 2020?
So they've been virtual for 4 years now?
Yeah, I would guess so.
4.5.
They haven't gone back since I've been here, is what I'm saying.
All right.
So that had to either be 21 or end of 20. I just don't remember which year.
And then my next question is, well, I guess I'll ask you offline with my next question.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried.
Mayor, may I just respond? So if they meet on second and third Thursdays.
Yeah, if there's something that's already been advertised for a virtual.
It's likely the second Maybe
probably was-
third, I'm not sure, meetings have been advertised. If it's the will of this board, they would have to re-advertise a special call meeting since they would be changing the venue.
Would they, so what about not re-advertising for a special call meeting, but the third meeting, is it, I mean, if it's possible to re-advertise to have the second meeting in person? Yeah.
So yes, so usually I think Ms. Smith advertises like a month in advance. I don't know if she's here. So
Yeah, I'm just saying from a zoning ordinance perspective, like the time period in which we have to give notice.
right, which is
If there's
15 to 45 days.
15 to 45 days, and so we are probably close to a 15 if they tried to redo it maybe on Wednesday. If it's possible, I think the sooner the better.
Right.
So if it's not possible for the one coming up next week.
It's definitely not possible for that one, depending on how often the paper runs and how soon you have to get the ad.
Right.
It may not be possible for the third Thursday.
So I think the goal is sooner rather than later, but definitely in compliance with the law. And if we can't re-advertise, then that means it's November. But if we can re-advertise for the second one, it's October. All righty. Committee reports. HR is planning a meeting for October. I think Budget and Finance meets on the 15th. And, yeah, anything else anyone wants to report from either of the committees? Next up is adoption of council agenda. Can I get a motion? Yes, Councilmember Shropshire.
And that we approve the agenda as printed.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Next up, approval of city council minutes from the September 16th regular
Oh, wait.
meeting.
I think we made a mistake. I said approve the agenda as printed. It should have been adoption.
Yeah, it's the same outcome.
Okay. Okay.
Approval of city council minutes for the September 16th regular meeting of city council. Is there a motion?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the city council mini meetings from September the 16th.
So moved. Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Come on, y'all. All those opposed? Motion carries. Next up, public hearing for the property tax millage rate, third public hearing. Madam City Attorney, if you could read the rules before we open it up.
Rule 29 provides public hearing rules. Public hearings shall be advertised as per ordinance. The presiding officer will call for a motion to open and close the hearing. Those in favor of the subject will speak first for a total of 15 minutes. Each speaker will be limited to not more than 3 minutes. Those who oppose the subject will then speak for a total of 15 minutes. Each speaker will be limited to not more than 3 minutes. Speakers may give a total of 3 minutes to another speaker after all of those present have had an opportunity to speak. Residents will be given first priority to speak. After all residents have been given an opportunity to speak, non-residents may speak. By a majority vote, the council may increase the total time for each side of the subject to a total of 30 minutes per side. Each side will be given the same amount of time. Speakers must adhere to the rules of decorum.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to open the public hearing?
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. The public hearing is now open. Mr. Brown, finance staff.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'll have Mr. Jackson and Mr. Golden come forward and walk us through the third public hearing on setting of the millage rate.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Official Code of Georgia 48.5-32 requires each levying and recommending authority to annually publish the assessed table value of all property by class and in total, the proposed millage rate for the levying and recommending authorities' purposes for the current calendar year, and assessed taxable values and millage rates for each of the immediately preceding 5 calendar years. The advertisement must also indicate the percentage increase and total dollar increase for each year advertised. Official Code of Georgia 48-5-32.1 requires each levying and recommending authority to complete a rollback millage rate. On the screen is showing the current 2024 tax digest and 5-year history of levy, showing each year's net taxes levied, the millage rate. This year, fiscal year 24-25, real and personal property totals $2,295,748,371. Motor vehicle totals $4,052,630. Mobile homes total $76,119. That gives us a gross total of $2,299,877,120, minus exemptions, which total $132,690,908, gives us a net of $2,167,186,212. We are proposing a millage rate of 13. With that, that's going to give us a net taxes levied of $28,173,421, an increase of $2,409,970, a 9.35% increase. The rollback millage rate is 12, has been calculated at 12. And the proposal is to set it at 13, which gives us an increase of over the rollback millage rate of 8.33. On the screen now shows our millage rate presentations from January of 2015 through January of 2024. As you can see, 2015, 16, and 17 were steady at 15 mills. We dropped to 13.89 in January of 2018, in 2019 and 20, 13.45. We dropped again to, in January of 21, of 13.25. In the last 3 years, we have, the last 2 years, we've been at 13 mills and proposing 13 mills this year. And it also, this slide also shows the amount of property tax revenues, the net taxes levied for each year, from a low in 2015 of $11,956,688, and this year, $28,173,421. Up on the screen now shows the proposed, the 2023, a home value with a value of $400,000 was assessed at minus the $2,000 homestead exemption of $158,000. At the millage rate of 13, that taxes on that property was $2,054. With the 8.33% increase, a 24 home would go to $433,320. The assessed value minus the $2,000 homestead exemption would then be $171,328. At the 13%, at the 13 millage rate, that then comes the taxes of $2,227.26. That's an increase of $173.26, and per month that's an increase of $14.44, per day 47 cents. A $300,000 home last year, assessed value of $118 with the homestead, the taxes were $1,534. This year, that same home with an 8.33% increase in value is at $324,990. That assessed value of that home minus the homestead exemption is then $127,996. At the mill rate of 13, that makes the taxes for that particular property $1,663.95, an increase of $129.95. And that increase would then be spread out over 12 months at 10.83 per month, $10.83 per month, per day, 36 cents. Shannon.
In previous meetings, it was asked what the surplus funds were going to be used for. We heard with the medical benefits equaling about $833,000, the Medicare Advantage was at one point $94,000. It dropped to $89,000. So what we figured, what the surplus that we can use these funds for is to pay for the medical benefits, and then the difference of that could be used for the second phase of the compensation study. And we're estimating the compensation study between 1.5 and 2 million. The amount that the salary is going to be. Yes, ma'am. Question.
Is that it?
That's the end of what we had.
So much. We are in a public hearing. Anyone desiring to speak in favor of the proposed millage rate come forward at this time. Anyone desiring to speak in favor of the proposed millage rate come forward at this time. Anyone desiring to speak in favor. Anyone desiring to speak in opposition to the proposed millage rate come forward at this time. Anyone desiring to speak in opposition come forward at this time. Anyone in opposition, can we get a motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. Need a motion to open the floor for discussion and possible action on the 2025 proposed millage rate.
Madam Mayor, I
Yes.
make a motion that we open the floor for discussion and possible action.
Is there a second? Second. It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. The floor is now open for discussion. I think staff is recommending the 13 mills. I didn't see the 19,960 for dental as it relates to healthcare. Any lights right now, so there was 833,000 for medical, and that number is actually, based on the presentation, 833,841. The Medicare Advantage was 89,400, and the dental is 19,960. Councilmember Freely.
Yeah, I just had a question. I wanted to dig into the surplus figure that you had for the amount that would be required based on the second half of the compensation study. What is that grounded in? That the 1.5 million to 2 million for you have it here, fund the second phase of the compensation study, but you mean whatever the outcomes are of that? What is that? Do we know that for sure?
No, we don't. We are estimating that for the first phase, we spent about 750,000, a little bit around that. That's the estimate. That was the amount. So we're thinking that it would probably be in between 1.5 and 2 for this phase of the study. But we're not sure yet because we're still in the preliminary phase of that.
Is this a ballpark or is this?
It's a ballpark, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
If the 100% is covered for medical, that's $943,201, so that would only leave, I can't remember the exact number, but I just did 2.4 million, like 1,456,800, so that range, if council is prioritizing healthcare coverage, the funding that will be available will be on the lower end if we do 100%. Do we have the numbers that we budgeted? Oh. Councilmember Cummings, Councilmember Mitchell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I just kind of just went over just the numbers that they sort of put up. So with the additional money, the revenue that they received from the property tax, which is $2,409,970, and the cost that they gave us for the insurance, it was $833,840. This is if we absorb all the costs. $833,841 for insurance, $19,960 for dental, $89,400 for the Medicare Advantage. And I just said, I know he said between 1.5 and 2 million. I just said at 1.75, just in between there. That gives us a total of $2,693,201, less the $2,409,970, which gave us a difference of $283,231. And you did say that we had, was it 320 that was there from when they made the change to Aetna? That's gone. Okay, so if that's gone, and just listing those figures that I just mentioned, and taking it at between 1.5 and 2 million at 1.75, that gives us a deficit, 283,231. That's if we absorb all the costs ourselves. So just kind of some numbers, so we'll sort of know.
Right, so, well, with your ballpark figure, we don't know what that number is going to be, right? But we do know what the known medical benefits are. So if we prioritize the medical benefits first, and then when they come with the study, we still can allocate the rest of the funds to the compensation study.
Okay.
We do have other revenues that can possibly be used for, it's not just property tax to fund the compensation study. So each fund has its own salaries that's allocated to it. So property tax is simply just for the general fund. Okay, so you will have your enterprise funds that have their share that have to be paid through the revenues that they bring in.
Okay. Well, I was just sort of using the numbers from what we had if we just use the excess money that we received from the millage rate, if it was at 13%. So, okay. I mean 13% we have for the millage rate. So I was just kind of throwing some numbers out there so we sort of have, because I know that's the thing, that's sort of the heartburn we're having now. We want to do it, we think we can do it, but we just want to make sure that the numbers are good, if the numbers are good when we do it. So that's my 5-minute math on what I thought.
Councilmember Mitchell.
Thank you. So this is kind of what I was alluding to earlier. So I would be willing, to keep the millage rate at 13% if it could produce something tangible and for everybody. So even if we take on the full brunt of the Medicaid plan, that's for, employees, I don't know, but if we would split that up, I'm trying to do the figures now, but try to find something that, could help everybody out. And like I said, we want to prioritize, insurance plans, and that's not, and then even when you look at the savings, it's like $12 a month, $35 a month, this and a third per individual or per employee. That's why I want us to think on other things we may be able to spend that money on, like I was mentioning earlier, like a tree truck. We can buy a couple tree trucks, with the money, and then the whole city could benefit from, us patrolling, cutting down dead trees year round, this, that, and the third. And I think that if you're an employee that stay here, that would benefit you. I think in the long run, that would save the city money instead of us contracting out these jobs for $300,000 a pop. And then I was going to ask you, so the compensation study, and this is, so Is this the study to see how much it's going to cost for the pay raises, or has that already been done?
That's correct. This, City Manager Brown can speak to that, or,
Yes, that's what it's for.
Okay. Why is it cost? Why is it cost?
It's the amount that we need to implement.
Oh, that's the amount needed to keep, so to be able to keep the pay, to be able to fulfill those raises.
Yes.
I got
Yeah.
you. Okay, okay, that makes sense. But yeah, what we do the other money, I think it could be, better spent. I think that's a conversation to have with, the council on, even the benefits, from us taking on the full brunt, we could be doing some other things with that money. But I yield.
Councilmember Zimmerman.
Yes, thank you. Could you go ahead and pull up the adopted budget for the 25 fiscal year? And we can look at what is included in it already.
While they're looking that up, Councilmember Mitchell, I do understand your concern, and I think we've talked about allocating more funding to tree trimming, but that comes from an enterprise fund, and generally the property tax savings or goes into stuff on the general fund side. So, there are additional funds and things that it's definitely needed. And they talked about, I think, getting arborists or kind of building out that department and stuff. So I think they're working on that, but that's just the only caution around using the property tax savings for that.
So going back to the compensation study and what is already allocated in the budget, it says on page 8, and actually just do a control F for the word compensation, you'll find that the compensation study is already in the budget. So
is that that's the first one, not the second phase?
Okay.
Yeah, the first phase, Councilmember Ziegler. The first phase, Councilmember Ziegler, dealt with employees that were 10% below the market and folks that made under $20 an hour. And they only looked at 32 classifications. They didn't look at all the classifications in the city. And Ms. Jessie, she could further explain if it's necessary.
Yes, ma'am. The reason this is a lot higher is because it includes public safety. You have police and fire included in the second phase. In the first phase, as Mr. Interim City Manager mentioned, it included people at the lower levels who didn't earn that much to start with, and they were brought up to $20 an hour. But once you get into everybody else, and we estimate that to be about 250 people, you include police and fire, who over the years, the council has increased their salaries pretty steadily. So that's why, if they're considered as a part of this study, their pay would be higher. Hence, we would have more money to expense for the total pay plan.
Okay, so the compensation study that is referenced in the budget already, that is in reference to this second phase?
Phase 1.
Or phase 1?
That was effective July 1.
Okay. Okay, and can we go over a slide that talks about the different millage rates that are on the table for tonight?
If you can tell me what millage rates you, I haven't, what was expressed to me was there would be 13 mills, and you also wanted to know what 12.75 would be.
Okay.
There was no other that was told to me, but that's not on the slide, but I do have that information. If you were to go with the 12.75, you will be looking at $27,631,624, a decrease of $541,797. If you go, it's going to go from $28,173,421. It will decrease with 12.75 to $27,631,624. If you multiply the millage rate of 12.75, yes. If you multiply it times the same net of $2,167,186,212, it's going to reduce it by that amount.
Reduce what by what amount? The
It's going to
2.4
reduce the
million?
net levied by that amount.
So what would the surplus number be at 12.75?
It will be 27 million.
The surplus
Oh,
number?
you're talking about the surplus.
Because we know the other one's at 2.4 something, so you just.
The surplus, it would be around 19, about 1,900,000.
Okay, thank you.
So we would still have a surplus with 12.75 mils?
Yes, you would, but that's assuming that you collect at 100%, but we don't.
Okay, thanks.
No, sorry, but
Councilmember Shropshire.
Thank you. So, here's my question. If we, let's say if we do keep it at the 13 mills, then we're able to fund the insurance at the cost that it needs, that's being recommended, along with the second phase of the study. If you reduce it to the 12, then you can't fund the insurance at the recommended rate, and then you can't do the study.
You will have a lower allocation. And at 13 mills, we base the budget off of 13 mills. If we drop it to 12.75, there may be other initiatives that may come up that we may not be able to fund.
Okay, thank you.
I would just like to take this time to say to council, this city council for the past, I'm going to say 7 years, but I'm going to even extend it when John Quill Peters was the mayor and some of the other colleagues here on council were in city council. For about a decade, the city council, under the stewardship of the experts, have reduced the millage rate in a responsible way in order to keep the city funded and not reduce services. And there was a concentrated effort to be financially and physically responsible in a way to not reduce services, but bring down property taxes. We consciously reduced the millage rate when appraisal values went up. If we want to reduce millage rate, then I recommend we go about it in a way where we start to plan, okay, how do we reduce the millage rate in 36 months or 48 months, a 5-year plan to reduce the millage rate, not because we think it's the right thing to do, because we aren't the experts. The staff is the experts. And finally, I didn't have to live through this, but some of my council colleagues and the mayor had to live through it when we couldn't afford to pay our bills. When we had to take out what the mayor called appropriately a payday loan to pay our bills. So right now, I know it seems like we're flush, but we have to look at history, look at the responsibility of what has been done, and we need to support the staff when they give us their expert opinion that 13 is the millage rate where we should be. And if we start to look in bringing in other opportunities, then we can make a strategic plan to reduce the millage rate, decrease income from that area, but figure out other ways to increase income through businesses and fees and things like that. Because I think what they have done is an excellent job, and for those of us who've been here long enough, we understand how delicate a process this is, and how we've had, in the past, have had to cut services because we didn't bring in enough revenue.
Councilmember Shropshire.
Madam Mayor, I call for the question, and I guess,
We don't have a motion yet. We got to waive the first reading.
That's what I was going to ask. Do we need to make a motion to waive the first reading?
Yep.
Okay.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. The, some reason this laptop won't come on, but I'll read the title of the ordinance, and then you all can make the decision on the millage rate amount. An ordinance by the City of East Point, Georgia, providing for the establishment of a millage rate for an ad valorem tax on all taxable property located within the city for purpose of support, maintenance, and expenses of the city, to provide for an effective date and other purposes. So it'll be a motion to adopt that ordinance with the millage rate amount.
So moved.
No, I didn't put in the, you can say so moved, but you gotta add a millage rate.
So moved with the millage rate being at the recommended 13.
Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded to adopt, this is the 2024 millage rate of ordinance of, at 13 mills. Any discussion on that motion? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. All righty, next up is we need a motion to remove item number 2 from the table.
Motion to remove item number 2 from the table.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Motion to, it's removed from the table, so we don't have to reopen it, right?
Right, we had a motion.
Okay, just need a motion. Okay. Councilman Butler?
Yes, Madam Mayor, does the motion still carry from before? Madam Mayor, I would like to make the motion that we approve the employee health composition plan at the first option. I'm sorry? I'm sorry. With the city covering 100% of the increase.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Shropshire? Councilmember Freely? Councilmember Ziegler? Councilmember Cummings? Councilmember Mitchell? Councilmember Butler? Councilmember Martin Rogers? The motion passed.
Public comments this evening?
Yes, we have 2 public comments this evening.
Okay. Can you call the names of the people just to make sure they're still here?
I actually see both of them.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect. Chapter 2, Section 2-2002BB, Rule 28. The public may speak during the public comment section of the agenda. Speakers must complete a comment form prior to the start of the meeting. Subject may include any subject of a choice. There will be a 3-minute time limit for each speaker. Speakers that have signed up to speak may give all or part of their time up to 3 minutes to another speaker for a total of 6 minutes of speaking time. Speakers may address the council only once during this time of the agenda. Speakers must identify themselves and their address prior to speaking. Questions from the speakers may not be addressed during the public speaking section of the agenda. East Point residents will have priority over other speakers. There will be a total of not more than 60 minutes for the public speaking section of the agenda. Speakers may only address the presiding officer. Speakers shall observe all rules of decorum. No debate, disrespect, or obscenity shall be tolerated. The presiding officer shall rule any such individual out of order that fails to comply with the foregoing. Madam City Clerk, you can call the first speaker.
Up first, we have Ms. Jackie George.
Good evening to East Point, Mayor Ingram and City Council members. First of all, I'd like to offer out a prayer in my support of individuals that may have had any family injuries to Helena, and that my prayers are with all of you and the City of East Point. Secondly, I would like to thank the following for my replacement of my fire hydrant on 2357 Ridgecrest Lane, East Point, Georgia. So at this time, I would like to thank Miss Fire Chief Thornton, Miss Edmondson, and Miss Estevera, Mr. Rodriguez. See, I remember all these people's names because I made sure I spoke to them and told them thank you. So Mr. Rodriguez and his team, and the crew that came out that actually removed and put the new fire hydrant in. So I just wanted to thank all of them for their help. And Ms. Esther, thank you so much. I appreciate your help. But mostly I would like to thank Councilperson Sharon Shropshire. She's been with me from the beginning to the end, and this process has been for some years, and she has been with me. And I want it known that it was Council Sharon Shropshire that did this for me, not Mr. Freely. It was Sharon that offered all these services and stuck with me from beginning to end. The other thing I want to thank Sharon for was all the support that she's done for me over the past years. I've been at East Point for 40 years plus. Whenever it snowed, if my power went out, I could call her. She took care of it. When the lights went out or anything, she took care of it. Recently, the recycle people on this street, they did not pick up on our street for 1 week. I called and told her about that. She got on that. I also called the City of East Point to let them know that it had not been picked up. And they said that they were on it, that they had contacted the recycle company, but they had not contacted them back. But that same week, apparently with the pressure that East Point put on them, they did come back out that week, and they got back on schedule the following week for recycle. So I just wanted to say thank you so much, Ms. Shropshire, for what you've done. I thank you for Wind Down Wednesday that gives parents and persons like me an outlet with everything that's going on. It's an outlet, and for a very safe and secure atmosphere is presented by the City Police Department of East Point. So I just want to say thank you. I know you all hear a lot of complaints, but just like you hear complaints, I think you need to also be commended on what you're doing. So thank you very much, and keep up the good work.
Up next, we have Apostle.
Good evening. My name is Apostle
Apostle. This is my partner, Joshua Booker. We reside at 1905 Neely Avenue. Okay. So since last summer of 2023, my partner and I have regularly shopped with PetSmart on Marketplace Boulevard here. And we had spent about $1,000 with the company over the course of the past year on our bearded dragon. The one time I go to PetSmart without my partner, on August 2nd, a PetSmart employee sexually assaulted me in the store. Without my consent, the employee caressed my left arm and left C-cup breast. I'm transgender, I have large C-cup breasts. These perverts, I've dealt with them before in Los Angeles, I've got restraining orders against them, there's been lawsuits, and here now, again, another pervert caressing my breast without consent. As my partner will tell you, I don't even shake men's hands. I'm extremely loyal. I don't know about the rest of you, how you're used to all the adultery and cheating that goes on in our society. We have each other's passwords to our phones, and like I said, I don't touch men at all. I'm extremely loyal to the man I'm going to marry. My body autonomy was violated. I first gave PetSmart the opportunity to make it right, suggesting disciplinary action on the employee and compensation for me for the crime I suffered. I didn't want to get the police involved because I don't want to put another black man in jail. I don't want to do it. I've marched with Black Lives Matter. I'm very pro-black on issues all my life. So I didn't want to do that. I gave them a chance to solve it civilly. PetSmart, after many conversations and then breaking their promises, they told me to go to your police department. So I filed a police report on the 12th because PetSmart told me to do this when they didn't want to solve it civilly, when we could have. And your police department waited a full month before a detective finally called me, asking the same redundant questions I had already filed in the police report. So that was the only time your police department ever contacted me with their own volition. I had to chase down the detective weeks later when she lied and said they were going to call me back when they got the video footage. She never did. So I had to chase her down, Detective Gray. Then she said, oh, well, they now claim there's no videotape. Right, so the month you gave them to destroy the evidence might have something to do with that. In any case, again, your police department's been 2 months now. They've only called me once of their own volition. So I don't know why me as a transgender has to be a second-class citizen, not deserving of judicial process of justice for the sexual assault I suffered, but there's going to be consequences. Either there's consequences for the criminal who did this and the company that did it, or the consequences will fall on you. You really should look me up. Contact Beverly Hills. Why don't you Google the lawsuit against Louis Vuitton that my lawyers filed, racial discrimination in Beverly Hills, or the multi-million-dollar I filed against Beverly Hills when they did the same thing and didn't arrest a sexual assaulter there. I will legally protest naked with these breasts at your public event starting this Thursday at the event on the 10th. I will destroy your public relations of this city. I will go after each and one of you with the election time, with my money, with my time, with my energy. I was in politics when I was a teenager.
So thanks, sir.
I removed mayors and city managers.
Your time has expired, sir.
Okay.
Thank you so much. I'm not sure.
I will be naked protesting on Thursday. It's my constitutional right. If your police touch me, there will be a lawsuit.
His partner sign up to speak? Okay, sir, your time has expired.
I want results of I want justice for the sexual assault I suffered. You better do something, or I will come
Thank
after
you
all
for
of
your
you
comments.
legally and politically.
Thank you to everyone who spoke this evening. We will now move on to the agenda items. The first item is status update of no-cost minor home repair for seniors and veterans.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'd like to have Janice Elias come up, Assistant City Manager, and walk us through this update. This had previously been presented to the City Council. So,
can you close that door?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Janice Elias, Assistant City Manager for the City of East Point. Just want to give you all an update on the no-cost minor home repair program. As you remember, in August, you all actually approved Greenheart Construction and House Proud Atlanta to serve as the project manager as well as contractors for this particular program. We actually held a meeting in September 23rd to be exact, to start going over preliminary logistics as to how the program will operate. We'll be doing many more meetings, but during the meeting last month, you all requested that I just come back and give you an update on the program itself. So we met on September 23rd. both the representatives from House Proud Atlanta as well as Green Heart Construction were present. Again, one of the things we wanted to talk about were the scope of services, which would be compliance, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, accessibility, and roofing. We also talked about some logistics of the program, which would include the intake process, income verification, preliminary applications, inspections that would be required, as well as the ARPA guidelines regarding rehabilitation projects. During the meeting, we talked about doing 2 community meetings in order to give people an opportunity to complete the preliminary application process. The tentative community meeting dates are October 29th, 2024, being held here in the City Council chamber at 6:30. And then the second meeting would be November 2nd, 2024 at the City Hall Annex at 10 o'clock a.m. So those dates haven't been published, but I wanted to present you all with those dates before we actually work with communications to start advertising the community meeting dates.
Thank you, Councilmember Shropshire.
Thank you. So why are we having community meetings?
So the community meetings are being held so that people will be able to actually get a copy of the preliminary application. I will tell you also in the meeting in September, when we met with House Proud and Green Heart, we did discuss the wait list that House Proud Atlanta actually already has. So Ms. Jones has agreed to contact all of those members on the wait list to ensure that they are aware of the community meetings as well as receive a preliminary application.
So here's my thing. Why are we going through a meeting when these people were already on the list? Which means that they are going to be knocked off the list. This is the reason why we decided to go with House Proud, because we had seniors already on the list that did not get the service because there were not people that were funding House Proud in East Point like they were in Atlanta. So to tell them now, after they've been on the list, is an insult to them and that they got to reapply.
Well, Councilmember Shropshire, okay, so what I understand is Ms. Jones, Lisa Jones with House Proud, what she'll be doing is making sure that the folks that are already in the existing list is giving first priority on this new list.
But it should not be like that. They shouldn't have to go through that. They've
Yes, ma'am.
already been on the list. So now you talking about putting them that they got to reapply to get back on the list, and they might
Yes,
get priority.
Yes, ma'am. Well, there's another company involved as well, so we're just trying to make sure that all this stuff gets merged up. Now, if you don't want to do that, we don't have to do that.
I don't. I
Okay,
don't.
all right.
Because it's not fair to the seniors that's been on the list. And I thought we had this discussion before.
Well, it's seniors and veterans, right? It's not just seniors, it's, right.
Them to come up here and have to fill out the paperwork when they were already been through the process.
Councilmember Butler.
The date for October 29th, what time did you say that was?
6:30 p.m. And then the one on November 2nd is 10 o'clock a.m. It's a Saturday.
So, do they have to reapply? Or are you able to take them off the list?
So the preliminary application process was discussed to at least give the opportunity for residents within the city to participate in the program. We're not trying to negate the persons that are already on the wait list for House Proud, but we are trying to give the other residents who are within that age range the opportunity to participate. It's only $350,000. However, if we're able to establish the preliminary applications, it's possible under the ARPA funding, once it's gone, we may have the opportunity to find funding from other locations, such as the CHIP program, which we're going to apply for again in 2025. So the goal is to try and seek out other funding opportunities so that we will be able to continue the program.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Cummings.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Do we know how many people have already signed up?
It was quite a few.
Quite a few.
And that is how they based on the funding for the program, based on the people that was already on the list. We never said come up with a preliminary, a thing to put in place where it will open up, because when we initiated it, and the city clerk can go get the verbatim minutes, when it was talked about and initiated, House Proud came and did a presentation and told us how many people that were from East Point that was on the list. That's how the conversation started, and it started moving that way. And it was quite a few people, and because people don't give, they didn't have funding from East Point, so those people remained on the list, and we said, okay, we could use the ARPA fund money to help the people that were already on the list. And now to come back and say, oh, we're gonna do a preliminary hearing, that's not what we discussed when it was first initiated.
Okay, so do we still have that list? That list is, so House Proud has that list? How long ago has it been since they signed up for that? I'm just asking a question because so about a year or so. So just a suggestion, that list, that active list that House Proud has, we go through and just kind of contact everybody. You know, still keep them, they'll have priority. And if there's an opportunity for more people, because like you said, it's only $350,000. So I don't know what the matrix will be with regards to who gets what funds or whatever. But, you know, still, you know, open it up if other people want to join, and if there are additional funds. Right, but the ones that are already on that list, service them first. Still, you know, keep a running list. I mean, because who knows, they may not, their stuff may come to 200,000, and if you have 150,000, you can use it for the other people. So is that a?
Well, let me respond. So if that's what you want to do, we can do that. I know that you've had discussions about seniors and House Proud. It's just a matter of us just doing it. If that's what you want to do, we can do that. Unless there's if I don't hear anyone saying no, we'll do that.
Councilmember Freely.
This may be a moot point, but you said one of the meetings was in October at 6:30, the proposed meetings?
The first one is October 29th at 6:30 p.m., which I believe is a Tuesday. And then the second one would be November 2nd at 10 o'clock a.m. at the City Hall Annex, which is a Saturday.
Okay. My only point would be, if we're serving seniors, it'll be dark
Yeah.
at that time, and so maybe 2 daytime meetings would be
Okay.
better.
Yeah, so I think we first had this conversation when former Councilmember Callaway was on council. And then we found out that there were a lot of people on the list from East Point, but as Councilmember Shropshire said, there was not funding allocated specifically for East Point. And so then we decided to provide funding based upon the number of people and the total value of the repairs that was projected that they needed at the time. If we told residents at the time that they signed up that this was a program that we were doing and this is what was going to happen, and they signed up with House Proud, and then House Proud said we didn't have funding for East Point, and then East Point provides funding, I think there's a reasonable expectation that if I signed up initially, that I don't lose my space in line, that I'm still a part of that. I think to have 2 community meetings on $350,000, when I'm not sure how many people were on the initial list, I believe the value of the estimated repairs at the time was well over $200,000, if I'm not mistaken. Like, we create a bigger issue. If you, one, go back on what we told the people who signed up, And these are seniors. So they rely, I mean, people rely on what we say. I mean, our word is our bond. And so going back on them, but then there's probably not even enough money to have an all-call. And I know it's first, while the funding lasts, like for any of this, right? And we've done that with all of the ARPA programs, but I think we created a reasonable expectation of the people who initially were on the list that they were signing up to be considered in the order in which they signed up. And I think we should be starting with them. I mean, we could go through it. I mean, that's been some years. Some of them may have already had the work done by some other means. I mean, there are a number of different things that could happen with the people who were initially on the list, but we should be initially having that conversation with them to screen, like go through their applications and see whether or not they still need it, whether or not they still want it, whether or not they still have the same information that was provided. I mean, you can update information, right? Like if there's income changes or whatever that other stuff is. But I just think we create a reasonable expectation that they were going to be a part of this program. And to start with excluding, I mean, the initial meeting, I think, should be with them, or initial conversation should be with them. And again, once we do that, we might end up at having more resources available because a number of things could have happened since they got on the list. But I don't think it's right for us to go back and say to them, you got to start all over again. At the time, we didn't have money. We used your estimated repairs to allocate money, but now you have to reapply to get money that we use your estimated repairs to allocate. So, I just think it's fair to start with it. And how many, do we know how many people? I can't remember the
I'll
number.
check with Ms. Jones again to see how many people are actually on their wait list. So if there is consensus, and it sounds like it is the desire of council to start with the people that are on the wait list that already exist with House Proud Atlanta, there's no problem doing that.
But I think also if maybe Monday at the work session, if you can bring back the number of people, we don't necessarily need their names at this meeting, right? But like the number of people and the total value of the estimated repairs, right? Because we also could be talking about 10 people. Like we don't know the number. I don't recall the number of people. I don't recall the exact amount of money, right? But if we know how many people, what were those initial estimated repairs, right? I think that helps from okay, did we do what we said we were going to do perspective? Like, what are we dealing with? Is it $150,000 for those people? So it's $200,000 left, right? And so I think we could have it with the actual numbers, right? And then make some decisions.
Yeah, I'll contact Ms. Jones tomorrow because we're going to start doing weekly meetings with both House Proud and Greenheart anyway, so we can start the rollout of the program itself. So I will contact her tomorrow and find out how many people are actually on the wait list and if they have an estimated cost for each of the homeowners' property.
So let's put this on as a presentation for Monday, so it'll be more at the top of the agenda. And
okay.
How does that sound for everybody? Okay. Okay. All right, so we'll put it on Monday work session as a presentation at the top.
Okay, and then that I would suspect would negate the need to do community meetings if we start with that list and the number of people and the estimated amount, if that's available.
It may negate it, but it may not. It depends on the amount, right?
Yeah.
Like, we could still, it could be a both and. It could be what you already shared plus, starting with this, plus what you already shared. So I think the numbers will help.
Okay, I'll get that information for you.
All righty. Next we have, this is agenda item. Can we get a motion to move that to the Monday work session as a presentation? Item number 8, the no cost for home repair.
Madam Mayor, I
Yes,
make a
Councilman
motion
Sharpton.
that we move item number 8 to the work session, under presentation.
So moved. Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Next up, we have a number of water and sewer emergency repairs. The first is for a water treatment plant inspection recommendation by GFA that requires installing 12 filters. We get either a motion to open the floor for discussion and possible action or a motion to approve.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Councilwoman
I make a
Sharp.
motion that we approve the approval emergency installation.
So moved. Is there a second? Second. It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Next up is the emergency repair of an 8-inch sewer main installation located at Shelby Lane due to deteriorated severe corrosion and damage. Is there a motion to discuss or a motion to approve?
Motion to approve. So,
It's been moved. Any discussion? All those in favor?
aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up is motion to approve emergency repair at 4131 Janice Drive due to sewer infrastructure issue. And yes, is there a motion to approve or discuss?
Approve.
Second.
Been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion?
Discussion.
Councilmember Mitchell.
So, do we know what happened here, or what was the story behind this?
Yeah, if we can get Ms. Echeverry to come up and just walk us through what happened.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. On Janice Drive, the sewer line had collapsed and there was a nearby creek. As you know, if sewer gets in the creek, we will be fined by EPD.
Okay. I was just curious. That's good. Thank you.
Okay.
Further discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carried. Next up is an emergency repair for, repair of the motor control of the water treatment plant due to motor control needing to be refurbished in order to keep the plant equipment operational. Is there a motion to approve or discuss?
Approve.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Next up is a motion to approve emergency repair, project restoration, and sinkhole repairs on Pineywood Lane due to finalizing sewer line replacement project.
Approve.
Second.
Been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Last one is motion to approve emergency repair of the roadway on Parkside Terrace due to the roadway being in poor conditions after the water line replacement encountered unexpected conditions while work was underway. Is there a motion to approve or discuss?
Approve.
So moved. Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. We're at council comments. Councilmember Butler.
Good evening, East Point. First of all, I would like to say a sincere prayer for all of those who were affected by the hurricane that recently came into East Point. I know my family and I had flooding in our home, so we hope and pray that everybody's safe and dry at this point in time. I would like to take this time to remind our community that I will be having a Backyard Series Town Hall meeting here Thursday, October 10th from 6:30 to 8 p.m. at East Point City Hall. So I look forward to everyone coming out to our Town Hall meeting where we'll talk about downtown development, public safety, city management, and the Ward D Recreational Center. So I look forward to seeing everyone on Thursday the 10th.
Councilman Martin Roberts.
Thank you. I have a couple of announcements, and the first is I'm partnering with a Girl Scout from Troop 20790, and we are working with Mocha Moms of Fulton County, South Fulton County, and collecting new baby items for first-time moms. Donations can be dropped off at City Hall beginning October 9th, continuing through October 31st. Also, there is a October 10th Microsoft Data Center Community Meeting going to be held at 6 p.m. until 7:30 p.m. at the Atlanta Community Food Bank headquarters. That location is 3400 North Desert Drive. There's also going to be a MARTA community meeting information session for residents that are in Heritage Park, Savannah Walk, Ben Hill Road, in the Sun Valley community and surrounding areas. MARTA is coming to the area, and that meeting is going to be held on, MARTA is in the area, but they are changing the location of the bus stops and also changing how we onboard or we transition onto that Camp Creek Parkway. So that's going to be a very important meeting on October 11th. That meeting address is 1400 Center Parkway in suite number 132, and it's going to be held from 6 p.m. until 7 p.m. I also wanted to give a shout out to the Parks and Recreation Department and that pickleball team. But most importantly, for the efforts with our Parks and Rec Department that are being made for our city in that department to be Miracle League hosts. If you're not familiar with Miracle Leagues, they help children who face mental and physical disabilities experience physical activities. And I look forward to working with our Parks and Recreation Department in regards to building upon this initiative. Thank you. That's all I got.
Councilmember Clement.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for everyone who attended the meeting, both live and via live stream. I just wanted to invite everyone out to our award seats. Councilmember Mitchell and myself will be hosting our quarterly Ward C community meeting. It's going to be Thursday at St. Stephen's from 6:30 to 8 o'clock. We'll have representatives from Police, Fire, Public Works, Water and Sewer, and Power Department. They'll all be out to address any concerns that the community may have. Again, that's going to be this Thursday at St. Stephen's Methodist Baptist, MBC, I'm sorry, 2670, Missionary Baptist Church, I'm sorry. The address is 2670 Hogan Road. Hopefully, we'll see everyone there. Thank you. I yield.
Councilmember Shropshire.
Thank you. I want to thank everyone who came out for the voter registration on Saturday. And when I tell you that the young people are really driving vote. The energy that they have is the same energy that they had when President Barack Obama was running. And I got to give a shout out and say thank you to the young ladies that were part in putting together the voter registration on Saturday. DKQ, Q Robinson, Kiera Stitchcomb, Demetra Lebat, and the activities that they had was Azir Andre. She's an artist, a painter who do murals in East Point, and she had a portrait of Vice President Harris that she painted. Also, Sierra the face painter, and Royal Playhouse, the mini bounce house that they had. And I want to say thank you. They really worked, and they energized, and they had signs where they were waving at people, getting them to come and register and check their status. So the last day to register to vote was today. Early voting starts on October the 15th, and it is important that we go vote. And I know the mayor is going to touch on it as well. So it is just important that we go vote. Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you to everyone who spoke during public comments tonight, who attended the meeting in person and online. I too echo thanks to the young ladies who decided that they're do something to, as it relates to the upcoming election, was to coordinate a voter registration drive. Thank you so much to the young ladies Councilmember Shropshire mentioned. As she said, today is the last day to register to vote. You can register online. There are a number of different ways. Of course, the in-person ways have closed. But after registering to vote, it's most important that people actually vote. Voting, your vote is your power, your vote is your voice. Every election is critical to progress. I don't care if it's one thing on it and it's just a local item. Every election, make sure you vote in every single election, and make sure that you encourage others to do the same. The election is just under 30 days away, the upcoming election, and so again, it's really about making sure people understand that their vote is their power, their vote is their voice, and that they actually exercise it, because when you don't vote, you actually vote. And oftentimes when you don't vote, you vote against your self-interest. You are literally allowing somebody else to make decisions for you that may not be in your best interest. And so make sure you exercise your power and rock the vote. The Healthy Point Mind, Body, and Soulful Circuit Saturday is this Saturday, October the 12th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Jefferson Park Recreation Center, 1431 Norman Berry Drive, East Point, Georgia. There's no registration. I can't even talk. But this is an opportunity. When we had the dinner with the top incentive earners, they came up with this idea of doing something periodically and allowing people to experience a number of the different activities that we have during the Healthy Point. So there will be mental wellness, and I think some art will be infused in that. Total body fitness, strength training, yoga, cooking demonstration, line dancing, and gardening. And so there will be on a rotational basis. Lunch will be provided. Come out and let's continue our journey to being healthier together. Again, that's this Saturday, October 12th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Jefferson Park Recreation Center, 1431 Norman Berry Drive, the Healthy Point Mind, Body, and Soulful Circuit Saturday. Do we have any executive session items tonight from legal?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I have 5 legal, 1 personnel, 2 real estate.
5 legal, 1 personnel, 2 real estate. I just wrote the numbers on that. Mr. Brown?
Just 1 personnel.
1 personnel. Council? Right now, we have 5 legal, 2 real estate, and 2 personnel. We probably need at least 1 more personnel, possibly. And 1 more real estate. Anybody else have anything? I have 3 personnel, 5 legal, 3 real estate. Yes. Motion
5
to
legal,
recess.
3 personnel, 3 real estate. Motion to adjourn into executive session.
For
5 legal,
Legal.
3 personnel, and 3 real estate.
So moved. Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. We're in recess. Motion to reconvene. It's been moved and properly, is there a second? I heard a second. It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. In the matter of Joanna Colton versus City of East Point, motion to proceed is discussed in executive session. It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. In the matter of Alsobrook versus City of East Point, motion to approve is discussed in executive session. Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. Need a motion to proceed as discussed in executive session on India Jones versus City of East Point. There's a second.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. In the matter of Maria and Denise Blake versus City of East Point, motion to proceed as discussed in executive session.
So moved.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. As it relates to the Commons project, motion to direct the city attorney to proceed as discussed in executive session. Is there a motion? Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. Need a motion to appoint Iris Jesse as the interim city manager effective October 14, 2024.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. I think, yeah, but did I get all of the items before? Joanna Colton, Alsabrook, India Jones, and Blake. And then the Commons and the city manager, interim city manager. Motion to approve executive session meeting minutes. There, it's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. Motion to adjourn. Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. Good night, East Pointers.